everyone. What's wrong? Oh, I forgot something, didn't I?
Hump Day.
This is what happens when Randy takes Monday off. It feels like Tuesday. That's where we're on Hump Day. Happy Hump Day, everybody. It's the opening drive on 101 ESPN in St. Louis. Brooke Grimsley, Danny Mack, Randy Carricker, Matthew Rocchio. It's 7 o'clock. Time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. How we all doing? Oh, come on.
Doing great.
Sponsorship idea for your St. Louis Cardinals. I know the salespeople are listening as they're driving in. How about this ninth inning brought to you by Circle K?
Randy, no. Come on now. Well, you know what? You might have a point there. No. Was it not just the most predictable thing in the worst way possible with that situation? I mean, as you mentioned there, it comes down to the bottom of the ninth inning, down by just one run, bases loaded, one out. Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Gorman both struck out to end the game. Predictable in the worst way. It just encapsulated everything that we've seen with this season.
Microcosm of the year happening in the ninth inning. A lack of production with runners in scoring position, and two of the guys that are at the forefront of that conversation, which is Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Gorman. I'm not sure why Nolan Gorman is still here. I'm still trying to figure that out. If Walker goes down with what he's done, and you're kind of yo-yoing him back and forth, then why isn't Nolan Gorman back down and trying to restructure his swing? Because it is not working at the major league level. He needs to be down. Someone else needs to be up, and he needs to play every day. And I agree with the Walker thing. He needs to play every day, whether it's in the major leagues or the minor leagues. But young guys that are still trying to figure it out need to play every day, and it's not working for Nolan Gorman here at the major league level.
You know what this organization is for me right now? It's sad. I feel bad about what has happened for Cardinal fans, because I grew up in the 70s, and even in the 70s, I can tell you right now, you felt like you had a chance many of those years, and the teams, they were deficient, but they did some things well. I mean, April, the Cardinals always had 5 of the top 10 hitters in baseball. They could hit, and at times they had really good starting pitching, not good enough. But the problem during the 70s was you had Al Roboski and then nobody else in the bullpen.
Right.
And you just never put together a bullpen. And we've gotten used to the Cardinals being a really good organization that fixes problems. So the Cardinals in 1971, they win 90 games and they finish a game out of the division. They finished in second place. I'm sorry, they finished 7 games out. Next year they were bad. 73-74, they finished a game and a half out of the division lead. 75, they were in the hunt until the last month. 76 was horrible, and that got Red Chain-Dean swacked. But then they come back, and they're in the hunt a couple of those years, and they have winning seasons, 83 wins, 86 wins. This kind of feels like, to me, that the team is helpless. Like there's virtually no chance for them to be able to compete with the best teams in baseball.
I look at Oli's position, and he's just got to be befuddled. You know, I know he sat at his desk for a while after the game last night, trying to decompress, trying to figure this thing out. And what do? I mean, your shoulders shrug a little bit and say, we had a chance. We got runners in scoring position with 2 of our power hitters up, and they can't come through. There's only so much you can do, and the players are not doing it. They're not doing it with runners in scoring position, and that's why I said it's a microcosm of the season. It just happened to be magnified in the ninth inning. If it happens in the third, maybe we're not talking about it as much, but it does get magnified late in games, and that is a bad loss for the Cardinals last night.
It was a really bad loss, and we keep talking about, too, about when does this season kind of truly end for everybody. We've talked about this series, how important it was, obviously, because the Brewers lead the division right now, and you mentioned Oli Mo and how even he's trying to figure out what to do. And Katie Wu asked him that same question last night because they have been trying everything, and this was Oli's response.
It's a good question. There's not a good answer for it, to be quite honest with you. We didn't do enough against their starter. Really good swing by Carp coming off the bench, hasn't seen at bats in a while. Was able to do that live BP against Lance today, but to come off the bench and hit a homer there, that's a big swing. So that was good to see, but we sprinkled in some hits here and there. We did hit some balls hard right at people, but at the end of the day, so did they, and weren't rewarded for it, and they came up with some other hits that they were rewarded for. So I've said it before, in order for us to be playing in October, we're going to have to score more runs, and we were unable to do that again today.
Oh,
That's
really?
been an issue all year long for him, especially with runners in score position like we saw there at the end of last night in the game. And the way that Katie Woo set up that question is one that we've talked about a lot. You've seen them move guys up and down the lineup. You've seen guys taken out of the lineup. You've seen them platoon players. You've seen them call up players. You've seen them send down players. What else can you do with this group right now? Because they are just what they are.
Well, and that brings us back to what happened before the game. The Cardinals did activate Matt Carpenter, who had the pinch home run, and then they gave Brandon Crawford his outright release. He probably said, thank you. They optioned Jordan Walker to Memphis and called up Luke and Baker. Let's start with Walker. That's one of the things, Dan, you mentioned. Well, you ask why Gorman is here. Could they have him here only to break the all-time single-season strikeout record for the team? Is it 148? The record's 168.
I wonder if they're going to try to be careful with that. I'm serious.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, knowing that he could set the all-time record, you're going to try to find spots for him to have success, but I can't see him playing every day, and I can't see him getting a lot of at-bats during the week. You can't afford to do that. Now, the one thing I would look at when you look at on the flip side, you could say, well, we're going to play Nolan Gorman. If Walker was here, we're going to play him every day, and we're going to play the young guys. Maybe bring up Sajasi and see what he's got. Maybe take a look at Luke and Baker. But to me, Luke and Baker would have been here before if they thought he was a viable option. Mm-hmm. And now that's just kind of a patchwork piece because you're sending Walker back down. Look, I have no problem. If you're going to send him down because he's not going to play every day, then send him down. I got no problem with that. But if he's going to be up here, he's got to play every day. I don't care where he plays, but it's got to be every day. You can't stunt his growth. He's 22 years old.
In general, and this is just an overarching thought process here, isn't a president supposed to be in charge? Like, if here, we've got... Congratulations to John Kioski. He's got a new title. He's president of Hubbard St. Louis.
When did that happen?
A couple of weeks ago.
Oh, congratulations.
So
Congratulations.
He's president. He's got managers. He's the boss. If he tells the managers what to do, they are supposed to do it. So, ergo, if you have a president of baseball operations who wants a particular player to play every day if he's going to be here, shouldn't the president be able to say, and I know there's been a lot of shots at the Cardinals over the years that maybe Oli Marmol is told what to do, but whether that's the case or not, if you're the president of baseball operations and you bring up a guy specifically to play every day and he doesn't play every day, don't you say, hey, I brought him up to play every day? Don't you do that? I mean, you are the president. It's your butt. You'd hope that it's your butt on the line. If I were in charge and Jordan Walker, I brought him up, and it would kill me, to paraphrase John Mozeliak, I hate the idea of a 22-year-old sitting on the bench. If you hate the idea of a 22-year-old sitting on the bench, why don't you bring him up and then say he's got to play?
It's baffling because that's where you start to see the disconnect that we were talking about. It was two very different messages. We talked about this earlier in the week, too, about what Mozeliak was saying versus what Oli Marmol envisioned with that role. I think Oli Marmol was in that more win-now approach, and you had that quote from John Mozeliak, and he said this yesterday. I have the quote right in front of me that Katie Woo had sent out. My philosophy has always been, if you're a young player, you need to play. I always cringe at the idea of someone who's 22 years old sitting on the bench. And it seems like I don't know how the messages get crossed in that, but it looks like it's not a collaborative effort. And if you're trying to your point, Rainey, where you're talking about, okay, it's Oli or John Mozeliak who's making the lineups. Well, clearly that's not happening here because they had two very different versions of what was going on. But with Jordan Walker, I just think that it's such a poor handling of that entire situation. That's just my opinion on this because he's 22 years old. Their priority should be his development. And he was just getting hot, finally down in the minors. You bring him up for a very niche platoon bat role. How is he really going to succeed at that? And now you're going to send him back down there. Maybe he comes back up a little bit later in the year, but I really don't understand when the priority should be developing this young player so they have the best chance to succeed. What exactly are you doing here in that situation?
And there are people that have the job of helping organizations, or in some cases, disorganizations, control their messaging. Go back to Oli and Mo with Wilson Contreras last year. Go back to them having a video online that said, we're allowing you, Jordan Walker, to come to the major leagues because of the way you handle adversity, and then send them down at the first hint of adversity. Their messaging is so mixed, and it seems like they could hire a consultant. There's a guy at Fleischman Hillard, I think, that might even be on retainer for them, that could help them with their messaging and get it more consistent. Because as a fan, I look at what happens with Jordan Walker in this case, or earlier in the season, when you tell us, we want him to go down, we want him to change his swing plane, we want him to change his pitch selection, and then a couple of months later say, it's all about production. If he produces for a couple of months, then he'll be up here. What do you really want from him? I think there needs to be some education from my standpoint as a fan who just, I listen to Doug Armstrong, and I know exactly what the hell's going on. I listen to the Cardinals, and I have no idea what's going on. I think messaging is a big problem, not only with us, but I'm sure in that clubhouse for the Cardinals.
Disconnect is what you're talking about,
Mm-hmm.
and it does seem to be that direction. I wonder if this was just said to Oli and vice versa to Mo, that, hey, we're only going to play him. This is from Oli's perspective against left-handed pitching. And then Mo saying, well, let's play him every day. And then all of a sudden you're 7 days in, or whatever it is, 8 days in, maybe 10 days in, I don't know, whatever it is. And all of a sudden you say, uh-oh, we got a situation here. We can't just sit him every single day. We got to play him.
But on the day they brought him up, Dan,
I understand where you're going.
They said we're only seeing one left-hander. We're seeing Kershaw over the course of the next 2 series. We knew that. Everybody knew that.
Yeah, and I think
the
it's
internet exists.
7 of the next 10 maybe are all right-handed pitching, something like that. Yeah, I
Milwaukee
understand.
didn't even have a lefty starter on their roster.
So if you wake up and you're the Cardinals too, boy, you got to be concerned about the crowd that you saw last night, just to kind of advance the story here a little bit. But it was the lowest crowd, non-COVID, that they've had at Busch Stadium 3. That is an issue, too. You know, fans have checked out for the most part, and the team is out of it. This is another question for you guys. At what point do you say, we are officially out of it? If you're the manager, in my opinion, you're saying, we're not out of it until we're mathematically out of it. You're trying to put your best lineup out there. But if I'm an organization trying to look and see where I can plug and play, I got to look at Sajaci. I got to look at Baker. I got to look at Alec Burleson playing first base. These are some of the things I need to look at to have some of these questions answered by next year.
And, Brooke, didn't you get that sense from John Mozeliak again yesterday, talking about, hey, we want to look at some of these young players? It sounded like a concession to me.
It really did.
With
Mozeliak's
comments.
Yep.
Yeah, and maybe he has the same vision that Oli Mo has with that. But you kind of mentioned there, Oli, of course, is just focused on the here and now and this season, and that's what he can do. But at some point, if we're just looking ahead into the future of what you're trying to build here, I want to see the younger players get more playing time, because in my opinion, I think the white flag is really waving right now for this team. Just based off Mozeliak's comments, you have that coupled with the result of last night, where, Dan, you said it was a microcosm of what we see in this entire season, where they struggle with runners in scoring position, and there's no threat right now in this lineup. Credit to Matt Carpenter, though, for his pinch hit 2-run homer that he was able to provide. But other than that, there was not really a threat offensively in this entire game. And you have to look at, what does this group look like moving forward for next year? And I think that you're passing the torch to the younger guys. Give them a chance to play, see what you have, so you know what to do for next season. And then also, moving forward next season, there has to be a collaborative effort, a linear message from the top down the organization, because that doesn't make anybody look good. In that situation where you have John Mozeliak saying one thing and you have Oli Mo saying something different, it doesn't look good for anybody in that situation.
I think there's 2 guys I want to watch, too, that have not been mentioned. I want to see more of Nootbaar, good, bad, and different. I want to see more of Victor Scott, good, bad, and different. I want to see them play. If you ask me who is Lars Nootbaar, I couldn't give you a definite. I couldn't say, well, great defensive player in right, great defensive player in center. He's going to hit 25. I don't know. I mean, he can't stay on the field for the better parts of seasons, but I think you need to find out more about these young players moving forward to see if they can be a part of the answers going forward into 2025. You just don't know. I think those are questions that you just don't know right now.
The last time the Cardinals, and they're Cardinals, by the way, have a record this morning of 61-64. Last year, as you know, they won 71 games. The last time the Cardinals played back-to-back full seasons in which they had losing records both years was 1958 and 1959. In 1959, Bob Gibson was a rookie. In 1959, the football Cardinals had not yet moved to St. Louis.
Right.
Wow.
It's been a while.
In 1959, Stan Musial still had 4 years to go on his career. 1959, I wasn't even born. I mean, I didn't even see that. It has been a minute since the Cardinals had back-to-back full losing seasons. And if nothing else, this isn't to the players. This is to the people in the front office who know history. This is people in ownership who know history. That should be an embarrassment.
It should. And it should elicit a strong response from them this offseason.
Yeah, right. And Mr. DeWitt said it when he fired Mike Matheny. He said 500 or even a little bit over 500 is unacceptable for this team, for this franchise, for this city. And it is. That's what they wrought with how good they have been for such a long time.
If they're going to lose in September, I'll go back to it. I want to see them lose with the young players.
I agree 100%.
Yes.
And lose fast.
And lose fast.
Lose fast.
Let's get an hour and 59 every night.
I'm with you.
That's what they say. If you're going to lose fast. But I want to see the young players play.
Yeah, me too. I'm with you 100%.
And I also think that a fan base would be interested in watching some of the, if you're trying to keep them engaged somewhat, I do think that fans would be interested in watching the younger kids play.
And by the way, and I know this is, it's not harsh, it's reality, but that has to happen, unfortunately, at the expense of Paul Goldschmidt.
I agree. I want to see Burleson play first base. Yeah. I got to know what he looks like at first on a consistent basis. I'm talking about a run of a week and a half, 2 weeks, watching him. And put Goldie as DH.
Yeah.
Mix and match with him, whatever you got to do. But you need to find out more about Alec Burleson being your first baseman of the future.
It is Wednesday. It is Hump Day.
Guess what day it is?
Since I missed it.
Hump Day!
There we go. Hump Day. It's Ask Uncle Randy Day. And you can ask me a question. If you're down, if you're feeling a little depressed about the Cardinals, maybe we can give you a little pick-me-up here on 101 ESPN. Text in 314-399-9646. 314-399-YO-HO. Thank you, Daniel. And ask Uncle Randy. Hey, school has started. The weather, my favorite time of year is coming up. You can ask about what you should do with your fall. There's a lot of great questions every single week on Ask Uncle Randy, and we want yours next year on 101 ESPN.
617-999-9646. It's Ask Uncle Randy on 101 ESPN.
Have some fun and compelling questions on Ask Uncle Randy. Uncle Dan is also here, and Brooke, and we'd love to have you participate with us. And Matthew has your questions for us, Mr. Mediator/moderator. What do you got for us?
Sorry, I was really confused. I didn't know if we would be able to take your advice because I didn't know how long you'd been around.
Oh man, I'm having a rugged start to this show.
I'm saying right
Like
now.
there is something missing
here's
this
the thing.
morning.
I've been around, you know.
Okay, see now I understand why we're asking you these questions.
I'm just getting warmed
There
up.
you go.
Okay.
See, he's just getting warmed
Here's
up.
what they're asking.
If I were the man I was 5 years ago, I'd take a flamethrower to this place.
All right, come on.
Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. Don't you put that on us.
There you go.
What kind of a show are you guys putting on here today?
I don't know.
Depressing one. Ask Uncle Randy. I'm going to the game on Saturday at the Twins with 6 Twins fans. I live in north central Minnesota now.
Oh, good.
Is it time for a brown paper bag over my head?
No. So that game's in mini, right?
Yeah.
So no, you just you go and enjoy your friends will be very happy with their victory, and so you go and. You just enjoy the contest, enjoy the competition, enjoy the ball, and enjoy the fact that your friends are going to have a good time. Just and have the camaraderie. And when they give you grief, just say, "Oh, I know," and then say, "How many world championship banners do you guys have? How many? We've got 11. That's our play right now. Tradition meets today. We've got 11 world championship banners.
Tradition meets today.
That was one of the slogans for a while.
That's what we got going for us.
There you go. I think that's great advice. Now, should they come? Maybe not in the brown paper bag, but do they come in Cardinals gear? Or is it even at that point where you're kind of like,
Yeah, if you have the Cardinal gear, you show your colors. I mean, they're still our team.
Of
They're
course.
still a team that you're the fan of. The only
But he
time
wants
I
to
ever
wear a brown paper bag, so I'm trying to find some way here.
It's a little extreme at this point.
One of the years, one of the 15 and 65 years, Patrick and I wore brown paper bags over our head to a Rams game.
Did you really?
Yep.
I love that.
I even drew Rams horns on the side of the bags and
I
stuff.
would say-
Yeah, we did.
All right, Uncle Randy, I got a question
Yes,
for you.
sir.
You got 2 at the Brewers. You got 3 with the Twins at Minnesota. You got 4 with San Diego. You got 3 at the Yankees. So you got 12 games left. Uncle Randy, how many wins did the Cardinals get out of that schedule?
Okay, Dan, I don't see one in there, but I'm going to give him a random 2.
Okay.
A random two.
Clearly,
You're going rando on me.
every single one of those games, the Cardinals will be underdogs in Vegas. Every single one of those.
I would think so.
So I'm going to say that there will be a random 2 victories in there.
Man, and then they
Yikes.
come home from New York. That could be ugly. That could be ugly.
Could be
and I
really
believe
ugly.
they
From
come
a crowd
home
standpoint, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah.
Oh no, then they go to Milwaukee. Excuse me.
Oh,
So
ouch.
15 still left in this stretch of games, and then if you add that, you got the Mariners. That's 18.
I'm going to go 3 and 12 over those 15.
Okay. What about the 18?
I'm going to give us another one. I'm going to go 4 and 14. You know, I'm going to against the Mariners. I'm going to give us 2.
Okay, 2 out of 3. Then
Yeah.
They can't
5.
hit.
Right.
all right.
Yikes.
This is depressing this
That is
morning.
is,
very
yeah.
depressing.
Dear Uncle
But
Randy.
here's the thing. I did find us a few wins. 5.
You did.
I like that.
Hey, there you go. Sprinkle them in there.
Yeah.
Honestly, sounds positive at this point. Dear Uncle Randy, I'm going to the game today, and I'm sitting in the 703 Club for the first time. Will that
nice.
balance out the disappointing production on the field?
It will. The 703 Club is magnificent. They have a giant pizza oven there, and the pizza is fantastic. Here's the thing. If you are a food person, and I think we can all agree we're food people, you take advantage of the food there. It is delicious. I've said this about the Cardinals, and I truly believe this. Aside from what's happening on the field, the Cardinals do everything right. Their all-inclusives are incredible. The people that you deal with when you go to the ballpark, the ushers, the concessionaires, the people on the business side, and by the way, everybody on the baseball side is really nice. They just aren't doing a good job. And that's not a personal thing. I mean, there have been times in my career where I've been a nice guy, but I just haven't done a good job. It happens. So I do think that and I do think, by the way, their heart is in the right place. I don't think it's that they're not trying to win. But just setting the baseball part of it aside, and I know they're a baseball organization, they do things so well. The game presentation at the ballpark, the ballpark looks beautiful. Our buddy Matt Gifford does a great job of keeping the ballpark up. And the 703 Club is a great addition.
Tony Simakaitis does the game day presentation.
Fantastic.
He and Craig Wilson, and there's a couple other guys that are just awesome. I think they do everything right, too, Ray. The giveaways, we didn't even mention that.
They're spectacular.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the giveaways are there. So there are reasons to come to the ballpark outside of baseball, but let's face it, fans want to see winning baseball. We talk about it all the time. What cures all ails here? Winning. And if you're not winning, it's a tough go.
And one thing Coach Vermeil always said when his team was struggling, because when he came in, the Rams started doing things well. And one of his lines was, the main thing is the main thing. And if you're a baseball organization, the main thing is winning at baseball.
The 703 Club is just absolutely beautiful. As you mentioned, for just some foodie aspect of it, there's a lot of great stuff in there.
Yeah, it's sensational. It's
great view.
Well worth it. Yeah, UMB Champions Club, I love too. UMB Champions Club might be my favorite part of the ballpark from a food standpoint, and I like a lot of the food stuff at the ballpark. But that's like fine dining up there. It's great.
Where is the 703 Club?
It's where the old bow tie bar was down the left field line.
Okay. All right.
And Matthew is shaking his head because he loved that bow tie bar. $5 beers, right?
That was listen. I'm for the common man, and getting rid of the bow tie bar, in my opinion, was a shot at the common man in St. Louis.
Okay.
Kind of seems like an overarching theme. Dear Uncle Randy, do you think we'll see Tink Hence and Quinn Matthews next year in the majors? I want them to push Matthews kind of like they did Waka.
I do not know about that. I could actually see Matthews, who pitched college ball and is making his way through the system. I could see him maybe more than Hence. But I don't know who's going to be in charge of the situation next year. That will change how I feel about it. They might actually, because we can all agree that the Cardinals' pitching development has been abysmal, and they need to change that. And if it changes as soon as next year, then my opinion might change as to when those guys are going to be here.
Where is the disconnect right now? And I keep using that word with these outfielders in particular that move on to other organizations. It's a question that has to be asked. You know, why are these guys having success once they leave St. Louis? And is it happening at the minor league level where they're pushed and they're just not ready, and all of a sudden you don't see the true player that can come out? Is it happening at the major league level where the coaching is just not to where it needs to be? I mean, these are all questions that you have to throw on the table because it's legitimate that these guys leave and have success.
I would have to do, and I'd like to do actually, a deep dive, but let's look at it this way. 10 years ago in the Cardinal system, you had Oli Marmol, Pop Warner, Stubby Clapp, Mike Schilt, Mark DeJean, Brent Strom. You were loaded with really high-quality people in Brooke and I have used this word a lot. It was a very linear organization. So you had and I always bring up Joe Madden wanting his organization to teach baseball the same way. So if you got a guy in low A that was managed by Dan Billardello, he went to high A and he was managed by Oli Marmol, and there was a Cardinal way. And then he went to double A and Mike Schilt had him. And then he went to triple A and Pop Warner had him. And all those guys had a linear approach to developing a player and getting him to the major leagues. I believe, from what I understand now, it's more of a hodgepodge. And there really isn't, unfortunately, a Cardinal way as to how to develop players. And by the way, those are all, for whatever we want to say about Oli and the staff here and what they do at a major league level, those were all great, not good, but great minor league teachers that got players to the major leagues prepared.
I remember talking to Mike Schilt one time, and I said, do you manage uniformly, if that's, right? And in terms of what you do in the minor leagues? And he said, one of the things that we do is we put an enormous amount of pressure on the defense. Even if we come up short, he said, we're going to run, we're going to bunt, we're going to do different things that maybe you don't see all the time at the major league level. And he said, I'm not sure that that's the right way to do it. He said, but that's the way I'm going to do it, with keeping in mind that I understand that I'm getting these players ready for the major leagues. He said, though, but we want to win. We want to teach these guys how to win. And that's number one, have the feeling of winning. And it's not only teaching fundamentally what you want to do, going back to his George Kissel book that he keeps on his desk still to this day, but it was about winning. And that's something I think that can get overlooked a little bit too.
I think one of the things, this is just totally an observation. I haven't been told this at all, but I believe this to be the case. Mike Matheny, Mike Schilt, Oli Mo, all worked under or have very strong relationships with Tony La Russa. When Tony La Russa was here in St. Louis, he got his way. And I'm sure that Tony La Russa says to these guys, hey, don't take any crap. Your butt's on the line. You go have them get the players you want to get. Because Tony could. Mike Matheny says, I need player X. They say, hey, I get the players. You manage them. Mike Schilt says, I need whatever, lefty relievers. You get the players, voices that to the GM, Pobo. I get the players, you manage them. And I have to believe that that's part of it is that Tony La Russa's influence is still being felt in this organization. And the Pobo, and I don't blame him for this, he didn't really have juice when Tony was here. Tony had all the juice. Tony was going to be here as long as he wanted to be here. The owner said that publicly. And I would think that once Mo got that power, he decided, you know what, I'm going to utilize it.
I'm going to tell you a story about Oli is that this last off season, it was during the winter warm-up, and specifically Tony La Russa reached out to Oli, and they stayed up till 5 in the morning talking baseball. 5 in the morning, just talking baseball and helping Oli, saying, hey, here's some of the pitfalls you may have. Here's some of the things that I did. You don't necessarily have to do it my way, but here's some advice I would give you. Oli said it was a one-way conversation for the most part, but he could throw out any topic to Tony. And Tony and Schilt were very tight. There was a lot of phone calls going back and forth with those guys. I'm not sure it was as much with Matheny, but Mike played for Tony, so he had an intimate knowledge of how Tony ran a clubhouse and how he ran a team. So, to your point, Randy, the fingerprints of Tony La Russa still felt with the managers of this team.
Hasn't it changed so much, though, in baseball in general? Just not with the Cardinals, but it seems like the power dynamic has changed, where gone are the days of the Tony La Russas in Major League Baseball. Now, you did have Bruce Bochy and what he was able to do last year with the Rangers, but that felt like kind of an outlier because you have this new school of managers and what's expected of them as a part of Major League Baseball now.
You do? But I go back a couple of years ago. Remember when the Astros were interested in Wilson Contreras, and Houston was going to give up the lefty starter. Might have been Valdez. I'm not sure. It was. And Dusty said no, and went to the owner, Jim Crane, said no, we can't do this. And actually, the GM clique wound up getting fired over it because Dusty had the power. Bruce Bochy knows that he has Chris Young's ear in Texas. Brian Snitker knows, and that's probably the one where Anthopoulos has the most juice. But Snitker gets what he wants there. And I think there's got to be a collaborative effort. You can't have, for example, general manager bringing up a player and then the manager saying, no, I'm not going to play him. And when the full expectation of the GM is that he's going to play.
Yeah, that's the thing right now is that you need that, once again, that linear message from the top down. And that's why I enjoyed seeing how things played out for the Rangers, because there were so many things that went wrong injury-wise for them. But you could tell that there was a collaborative vision from the top down where Bochy could say what he needed. Chris Young was on the same page. He was a former player and also Ivy League. But at the same time, there was a clear vision from the top down, and even with ownership, where it's like, okay, I know what it's going to take to be able to help us win this World Series. I need X, Y, and Z. And you could tell they were all on the same page with that.
Yeah. That's Ask Uncle Randy. That was a lot of baseball on Ask Uncle Randy. By the way, my favorite time, this is as we get into the next 10 days, when we start college football, which is a week from tomorrow night, Mizzou starts their season. We get into the start of the NFL season. We get into the pennant races in baseball. We're closing in. Heck, we're less than a month away from the start of Blues training camp. And then the best weather that we have is September and early October. My favorite time of year is coming up. It's the best.
Oh, it's the best. And really, college football for me, which I'll pay attention to Mizzou, but it starts this weekend. It's the beginning of the college football season. So let's think about what
FanDuel
you just...
or DraftKings?
That's what it's all up to my friends and how they want to go about this. It's not for me, Randy. I'm just a curious observer to the game. I'm a lover of sport. Okay, I'm a lover of sport. Yeah. So there's a little bit of both, I think, from these guys that I talk to and gals. But think about it though, too. Is what's the interest level of the fans going to the ballpark with all these things going around?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, those crowds could really be low.
Well,
really be low.
No doubt.
And school is back in session.
Yeah, if you have a Saturday afternoon game and Mizzou is on TV, Mizzou football's on, with the interest in Mizzou football right now, and the fact that they've sold out basically on a season ticket basis, you're exactly right. The people that are predisposed to going to a sporting event are probably going to go elsewhere this September.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, you have Mizzou and how exciting that they are right now. You have a lot of other things going on, but when you guys mention this time of year, I love it as well. And typically it's because playoff baseball is happening at the same time. So that's the sad portion of it.
Kind of is. Yep. Let's ask Uncle Randy. Coming up, Wither Jordan Walker next on 101 ESPN.
We're looking for a new jingle to promote $29 down at Frank Lita Mitsubishi in the Automotive Outlet in Bridgeton. Who's first?
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Cardinals fall to the Brewers in Game 1 last night, 3-2. They had a chance with the bases loaded and Paul Goldschmidt and then Nolan Gorman up in the ninth inning, but unfortunately both go down swinging, and the Cardinals fall again. It's 3-2. They will have a chance to get back in the win column tonight. 6:45 first pitch for the Brewers. Tonight it'll be the righty Tobias Myers. Myers on the season, 6-5 with a 2.81 ERA, and he faces off against Kyle Gibson for for the Cardinals. Coming up later here on the opening drive, St. Louis Blues head coach Drew Bannister joins the show coming up at 8 o'clock. That is your Sports Center update driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
Drive's fresh take.
I just think he still needs to be playing. That's the most important. And, you know, the way I look at Jordan Walker, last offseason he went down and focused on his defense, and he came back and he's played himself into an average defender, if not maybe slightly better. I mean, I think this offseason he's going to have to focus on his approach, his swing, and we still believe that he's going to be an enormous talent in this league.
Cardinal Pobo John Mozeliak yesterday. A couple of things. Number one, and Mo did admit that they rushed the youngster. But if they were so concerned about his swing, why did they bring him up at the beginning of 2022? That would be one question I have. The other thing I wonder is, have they alienated this young player to the point where he's already looking towards free agency? There have been guys, I mean, we all knew that Jack Flaherty had an eye towards free agency when he got to 6 years, right? Right off the bat, we knew that. He was money motivated. You go back to a guy the way that Chris Bryant was treated in Chicago. Everybody knew that he was either going to break the bank there or he was going to be out of there. Now, he was a Boris client. But if I'm Jordan Walker and I decided to not go to Duke so that I could join the Cardinals organization, join them in the midst of the pandemic, didn't get a chance to play in 20, play in 21, I'm compared to Albert Pujols, make it to the major leagues with a video that says one of the things that we like about you and the reason you're making the team is because of the way you handle adversity. Then the first time adversity strikes, you get sent down to the minors. And then you have everything going on this year. If I'm Jordan Walker, and I know that that's not exactly what this segment is supposed to be about, but if I'm Jordan Walker, I'm kind of pissed, and I wonder how long that lasts with an athlete.
And I think that that's completely taking advantage of the fact of how well he can handle adversity. Once again, he is just 22 years old, and what's something that we talk about all the time surrounding the Cardinals is talent evaluation and developing these young players so that they really can succeed. Now, you can point to Mason Wynn and what he's been able to do this year. That has been fantastic, his growth. Alec Burleson is another player where it took some time, and now you've seen him take off this season, especially earlier on in the year. But with Jordan Walker, it really feels like they prioritize a very niche role aimed towards a slight boost for the team rather than prioritizing his growth and the development of his career. Because this isn't just one instance with him. This is multiple times where they've really missed the mark on making sure that they can give him all the tools, all the opportunities available to make sure that he can succeed. Once again, he was doing well. He was finally really catching on down in Memphis. And we talked about it where, okay, either you keep him down here down there and let him grow over a couple of weeks and then maybe call him back up because it was still pretty early on when he was catching fire down there, or you bring him up and he plays every single day. But then to just bring him up for a very niche role where he's a platoon bat coming off the bench in situations that are very limited, and they knew that, it made no sense whatsoever.
And Dan, I want to send everybody to the Scoops Network and read Bernie Miklas's piece from yesterday about Jordan Walker, because the role that they had him up for is not the role that he's best at.
Yeah.
He's a much better hitter against right-handers than left-handers.
It doesn't make a lot of sense, does it? So to your point, Randy, initially what you're talking about with Jordan Walker, I think if you go into the offseason, well, let's just say this. Does he come back up this year? I'm not so sure he does.
I'm not sure either.
I'm not sure he does. And that's one thing then going into the offseason. If you're a young man, you're 22 years old, you're going up and down, you got to be questioning the organization a little bit and saying, how am I being handled? For my and ultimately it's my career, but I want to be handled properly. And then the other part of this is that he's not having success at the major league level. It's human nature to question yourself. Do I belong here?
Yeah.
Am I good enough to play at this level? And when you're 22 and you haven't been established, those things creep into your mind. And that has probably happened to him. And, you know, you're talking about learning about hitting. And I think, or what would happen with him moving forward and thinking about free agency and all this different stuff, if he hits, it's kind of like an organization, to me, in my opinion. If an organization wins, it takes care of itself. If he hits, it'll take care of itself. And then I don't worry about those things. Yeah.
This situation, the whole situation, just from my personal standpoint, it feels constricting. Like it's hard to breathe. It seems like this organization needs a change, if nothing else, than to allow people to breathe and take. I'm sure a lot of the players feel the same way. It's almost like they're being constricted and can't. And I feel like I'm, as a fan, being constricted and just can't breathe.
Well, you go back to that Dylan Carlson quote from the other day after his walk-off winner, and where he was talking about, too, that he really was happy that they gave him the opportunity in that moment to come through for them. And he looks so much happier.
Yeah.
And as a fan, you can't stop and just look at that and say, man, there might be something going on here, because it's not just Dylan Carlson that we see that. We see it over and over again. He also mentioned in quotes prior when he was moved over to the Rays and he was facing the Cardinals for the first time, where he said things very nicely, but there was that one line where he talked about the freedom with the organization that he was able to have. And that's where you're talking about the breathing room, Randy, is that ability to kind of breathe a little bit and know that, okay, they're putting confidence in me, and that helps that player be confident in themselves. Kind of switching gears a little bit, but even look at those comments. We talked about it yesterday with Tua, where you have a coach that's maybe really stifling you and maybe down. And I'm not saying that's what is happening in this, but when you have some people who are giving you mixed messages and you're not clear or sure about what direction they or plan they might even have for you, that can get really confusing as a young player when you're already just trying to figure out a million different other things.
There are problems galore. Brooke, Dan, Randy, 101 ESPN. Coming up, we've got Take It or Leave It. Send your text into the Air Comfort Service text line, 314-399-9646, 314-399-YO-HO. It's Oli next, and then Drew Bannister at the top of the hour on 101 ESPN. Hey, I want you to know about my friends at Chesterfield Fence and Deck. They've been around for 56 years, and you don't stick around for 56 years in business in any community unless you're doing things right. And at Chesterfield Fence and Deck, well, they've been one of St. Louis's top names in home improvement since 1968. They have a commitment to put quality and professionalism first in everything they do. And that's how and why they've earned an A-plus rating from the Better Business Bureau. And that's why when you drive around and you see a Chesterfield Fence and Deck sign, you know that those people have the very best. Whether it is fences or decks, sunrooms, screen rooms, maybe you're heading into the latter part of this year and you want to turn that deck into a sunroom or a screen room, Chesterfield Fence and Deck is the company to call at 800-300-4054 or make an appointment on the web at chesterfieldfence.com. They'll come out, take a look at your piece of property and tell you exactly what they can do for you. You tell them what you're looking for, and they're great to work with. You'll love them at Chesterfield Fence and Deck. Tell them Randy sent you. You get 48 months interest-free financing from Chesterfield Fence and Deck. 800-300-4054. ChesterfieldFence.com. Chesterfield Fence and Deck, the sign. You have the very best.
start packing.
That's my final offer. Take it or leave it.
Brooke, Dan, Matthew, Randy, it is the opening drive on 101 ESPN. It's time for Take It or Leave It. Okay, guys, last night I'm just going through my life and just having a great time. I feel like, okay, sure, we've got a Democratic convention going on. We've got Cardinal baseball and they're struggling. And I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm involved with serious stuff. And then 6:11, I get an all caps text from our friend Michelle Smallman. And the text simply says, "Love is dead." And then moments later, another text that says, "Jennifer Lopez files for divorce from Ben Affleck. No prenup." Take it or leave it. Take it or leave it. If Bennifer can't work, love has no chance.
I'm going to have to leave that one. Because isn't this their second chance at this?
Yeah. Well, they never got married the first time, though.
They were just engaged.
It was no. This was a fairy tale. This was a fairy tale come true, and now J-Lo has filed for divorce from Ben.
Apparently, there was not a prenup involved, which that is shocking because what?
I think they're both okay financially. I think they're doing all right.
Weren't they married before?
No, they didn't get married. They were
just engaged.
They engaged and then it fell apart. And then she got married to a dancer. Did she get married to the dancer and then she was married to somebody else?
She's been married 4 or 5 times,
and then,
I believe, at this point.
Ben was married to Jennifer Garner. Hey, Ben,
and then cheated on her with the nanny.
How about trying somebody named Jill or, Wanda or something? Why does it always have to be Jennifer?
Wanda.
He has a preference for Jennifers, I guess is what you're saying there.
So anyway,
you taking that?
I'm taking it that love has no chance. If J-Lo and Ben can't make it work, it's just not going to work. I'm sad.
What makes you say that, though? What have you seen from their fairy tale love story?
Such a cute couple sitting in the first row at Fenway Park. I mean, what could be better? What could be a more glorious relationship than those two? Their big Georgia wedding. It was just all beautiful.
You're really into this. I forgot that they had married
Smalls
in Georgia.
loved it. It was I think it might have even been a daily segment, the Bennifer segment for a while.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Did it trump the Larsa Pippen
nothing.
segment?
I mean, that's the true American love story is Larsa and Marcus, isn't it?
Are they still together? Now that's what I need to know.
See, this is another fairy tale. I think they're back, yeah.
Wow. True love. You can't separate them,
huh? Can't stop it, no.
All right. Well, take it or leave it. We had Players Weekend this past weekend, which I don't know if you guys knew that or I know that's a great question. I don't feel like they exactly advertise it that well about Players Weekend, but it is cool. You get to see the custom designed bats and the cleats. But take it or leave it, it should be allowed all year round for these players to be able to do that.
Yes.
I'm going to leave it because I think it puts more emphasis on the 3 days and you learn more about the players in those 3 days than maybe you would for an entire season.
Yeah.
It's
I like
quick,
it kind of
though.
specific.
It's very quick. I just think that if you're trying to engage a younger audience and to really showcase these players, not just the names that a lot of people know like Shohei Ohtani and Aaron Judge, but where you can learn more about other players, they can showcase even their causes, anything like that. I think it's a unique way to really get to know the players more and engage that young fan base.
My favorite ever was a Tampa Bay reliever, and he came in with the back where the name is, and his was 2 towels. Because when he takes a shower, he was a very large man. Mm-hmm. It took 2 towels.
And, I think that
I like that.
Players Weekend, it's a lighten up Francis moment for Rob Manfred. Rich Hill wanted his nickname, and it is.
And he just signed, by the way, again.
He's back, yeah. Boston?
Yeah.
Wow. How old is he?
Like 60. But his nickname, Rich Hill, Dick Mountain. And Richard, and then Hill.
Yeah,
but they wouldn't let him wear it.
We got it, Randy.
Yeah.
So come on, lighten up, Francis. Let the players be creative, and they wouldn't let.
I was talking about the cleats and the bat.
Oh, okay.
You're talking about worthy causes.
Yeah.
They would not let DeYoung wear Pauly D because it was like a trademarked name or something like that.
Oh.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, because of the DJ guy from Jersey Shore.
Oh, yeah, that might have been it. So anyway, ask for forgiveness, not permission. Come on, let's have fun.
I've got an easy one. Take it or leave it. Tommy Saggese will be a member of the St. Louis Cardinals before this season is through.
I'm going to leave it.
Any reason as to why?
Because I think they've got other guys that they're going to play on the infield, and I don't know I know that they look at him as a reserve guy, but he'll never, apparently because of his defense, be a regular.
So if you're going to make that move, add him to the 40-man and then option Gorman. Not much time in the Memphis season, but this goes back to the Walker thing, too. You don't want a player to be defeated going into an off season, and that could be the case with both those guys, too. And how they've handled the Walker thing is just beyond me. It really is. And the fact that Gorman is still here is just, it's surprising to me. I just don't think he should be here.
Don't you think at this point, though, just keep playing him to see if there's anything that you could do? I don't know. I guess you could look at it both ways. You option him, but what does that accomplish at that point?
I think one of the things that they need to convince him of is that he should probably, especially with the way he's performing, he may be one of those guys that has an allegiance to an individual coach, and maybe they need to break him of that and actually get him to do what they want him to do.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, something's got to change, right? You can't keep doing the same thing because it's not working right now at the major league level.
And you have an investment in the kid. He was a first-round pick.
100%.
And at some point, he's got to figure out, okay, well, this is not working.
I mean, last night, bases loaded, nowhere to put him. He's going to get strikes to hit and can't do it.
Whiff. That's what Tony would say, whiff. Okay, thank you, Matthew, for all those texts. Coming up next,
did Matthew give us any texts?
No, I messed
Time
up the
management
clock.
did not work well for us.
We've got Drew Bannister, the head coach of your St. Louis Blues, coming up next on 101 ESPN.
Hey, Danny Mac on this Wednesday for Stewart's American Mortgage. If you're someone who is looking to purchase a home or refinance, or if you're looking to consolidate some of that ugly credit card debt, maybe you don't know exactly what direction to go to in any of these things, let's make it easy for you. Call Stewie from Stewart's American Mortgage. He's going to help you every step of the way. If it's a new home you're looking to purchase, he'll get you to the closing table fast. Try 10 days, and he'll get you the best interest rate possible. He also has the bagel loan that can help you out too. You always hear about the bagel loan. So let's tell you about it. If you borrow $200,000 or more, there's no underwriting fees, no appraisal fees, no title fees, no lender fees, and no closing costs. Stewie, he is your guy. He makes it so easy for you. Any questions on rates, the industry, the trends, give Stewart a call. Here is his personal cell phone, 314-324-4440. Again, that number. Text him, call him right now. He'll pick up 314-324-4440, or you can Google the Bagel Loan.
NMLS number 226715.
Like I think it was reported that I wouldn't have done this to Kenny Hull, and that's the truth. But honestly, I'd do it to my mother if she was managing the Oilers.
That's Blues President of Hockey Operations Doug Armstrong yesterday on the heels of the Blues officially acquiring Philip Broberg and Dylan Holloway from the Edmonton Oilers via offer sheets. And now those two players are members of the St. Louis Blues. Brooke Grimsley, Dan McLaughlin, I'm Randy Carricker, and we go to the celebrity line. And the head coach of the Blues, Drew Bannister, kind enough to join us on a Wednesday morning. Coach, good morning. How you doing?
Good morning. How's everybody there? What's going on in St. Louis these days?
We're talking a lot of hocky. The first thing I wanted to ask you is, so have you for the last, well, I'm sure the last week plus, have you kind of had a pad and paper out? Are you a coach that writes down line possibilities and pairing possibilities all the time?
Yeah, I mean, Doug's kind of put a little bit of a change in that in the last week, but certainly throughout the summer months, we kind of tool around with what our lines may look like, and obviously with the numbers that we have in camp, kind of start putting some lines together that we'd like to see together during the season and get them going early in camp.
Drew, thank you so much for joining us this morning and just kind of talking about all the moves that you just mentioned that have been made, especially the one here lately. What was your reaction to the news of Doug Armstrong making a very rare and aggressive move of the double offer sheet to net Broberg and Holloway?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just in line with what Doug and the organization have been talking about. Like, I think Doug used the CBA to his advantage, and rightfully so. And it is a little bit unorthodox as far as being able to build your team. But I think he saw an opportunity to make his team better, and certainly it falls in line in what we're looking to do with our players. And it makes us. It makes us a quicker team again, like I think we addressed that in free agency with some of the signings that we had. But this certainly makes us, again, a better skating team, a more aggressive team, something that we felt had to be addressed. And I think with these two moves, that certainly helps that out.
Tell us about the two players, just in a general sense. You hear that they're coming to St. Louis. Tell the fans what kind of players that the Blues have just acquired.
Yeah, I think, I mean, obviously where we're playing and where I came from the American League, I didn't see a lot of either player playing just because they were on the West Coast a lot, but certainly managed to be able to watch some in the playoff run. And again, it falls in line with the age bracket that we're looking for. But both players are above average. You could say elite skaters. They're aggressive. Obviously, Philip Broberg's a big defenseman that's extremely mobile, that moves pucks well, played extremely well in the playoffs. Very impressed with his play. And Dylan Holloway, just an aggressive forechecker, gets in on the puck. His body for height, he's probably average size, but he plays an extremely heavy game and an extremely quick game. Something that we're looking for in our forwards to be able to get on the forecheck and be more aggressive in all three zones.
Hey, Coach, a lot can happen, obviously, between now and October. But last year, down the stretch, you deployed Pavel Buchnevich at center a lot. As we sit here now on August 21st, how would you anticipate you're going to deploy number 89?
Yeah, I think obviously we had him at that position, and I thought Bucci, embraced the role, played extremely well. As the games went on, as the minutes went up, he got more comfortable in that role. It's just another option that we have. Obviously he can play wing. We know now that he can play center, so it gives us that option. Starting the season or throughout the season to kind of move some players around, play in different positions. Whether he starts there, that's yet to be seen, but certainly we know he can play that position. He's comfortable playing that position.
Going back to what you just touched on about the young core of this group, you have obviously the history of being able to work with and develop young players, having served as the Blues AHL affiliate head coach since 2018 prior to your now promotion as the head coach of the Blues. With such a young core that you have now to work with, what has worked for you in the past as a coach in helping those young players really reach their full potential?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I think it's just, time spent really getting to understand the players, getting to know them early on before they even get to me, quite honestly. And I think, our development staff and Tim Taylor have done a great job in communicating with those players, being able to spend time with them, whether it's at development camp, at main camps, getting to know the player, getting to know their skill set, getting to know the type of player that they are that'll make them successful at the American Hockey League level, and then transition them to the NHL. And I think, now being at the NHL level, getting to know these players, seeing what we've done and worked with them at the American League level, seeing them transition and start to have success at the NHL. That was something that, we worked on, over the years in my time with the affiliate team. It's something that you kind of continue to build on as a coach, and get to know their aspirations of the player, where they see themselves as a professional hockey league player, but also the realization of, you see a lot of junior kids that may score 50 goals, 60 goals, that have to change their game. They might have to become checkers to become an NHL player, and just working on those details in that game, getting an understanding, and coming, to an agreement of really, like, if you want to be in the game, there's going to be certain things that you may have to change in your game to be successful. And I think that's, as a core, as a group, the development group in St. Louis that I was able to work with, we did a great job, working with those players to get them to St. Louis. And we're seeing a lot of those players right now have a lot of success.
Coach, on paper, it looks like you could have as competitive a camp as anybody in the NHL. So how do you approach that from your perspective as the head coach, and how much fun may that be for fans that are out there, that go out to watch camp and watch how aggressive this could be? How much fun could that be?
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I mean, I think you said it there. Like, it's going to be an aggressive, competitive camp, and that's what we're looking for our players. And those are the standards that we need to change. The passion for the game, our resiliency, and I think certainly with these ads, but the youth that we have in our core group, but also our leadership group, and what they want to do and the belief that they have in this group right now. I think it sets up for a really competitive camp. I'm excited for it. We've been off for a long time. We're ready to get back to work. I know the players are, the staff are. So we're ready to hit the ground running here and get into camp and get to work. And looking forward to the start of the season.
Blues coach Drew Bannister with us on the home of the Blues, 101 ESPN. And, Coach, I want to go back to Broberg, because you look at the Blues Stanley Cup championship team in 2019, and pretty much every team that has won lately, they've got those tall, long-sticked defensemen. And that's what Broberg appears to be. How is he on the defensive end? Because people are dreaming of, because of the Jay Bouwmeester build, that's what they're dreaming of. What sort of a defenseman is Broberg?
Yeah, I mean, again, like you talk about the tall and lanky, but he's a great skater. He's extremely mobile. He transitions pucks quickly. The defending part for any young defenseman is always going to be a challenge. It's something that players work on themselves to get better at, as they go on. So, that's something that we're going to have to work with, and that has nothing to do with Philip. It's just a young transition from whether you're coming from the American League junior or college, that, the game is a lot quicker. It's a lot more physical. So there's going to be some growth in that part of the game. But, when you look at the assets of the size, the ability to skate and the ability to move pucks, it's certainly something that's going to help our core out on the back end.
I think a lot of people are very excited to get this season started. I know that you've been very busy this offseason. I heard that you actually went and visited with some of your players. Of course, you already know who they are, and they know who you are. But what was the message that you really wanted to meet with them about going into this season?
Yeah, I think, it was important for me early on when I first, took the job that I started, reaching out to those players, and making contact with them and having conversations, having the ability to meet up, face to face if that if that was available to me at the time, but also to kind of take a little bit of a break and step back, in July where I didn't do a lot of that. I let the players enjoy their summer. And then once August kind of, came around, I started to ramp up and started to reach out to those players again. And again, it's just about building relationships with the players, getting to know a little bit about them, about their families, what they've been up to in the summers, and not necessarily talking a ton about hockey. Like we have talked about conversations about where we want to be and what we believe in as a group and where we want to get going and what it's going to take and the standards that we have to set. Certainly those standards have to be risen, but that'll be something that we build from day one of our training camp to make sure that we're ready and prepared for when the season starts.
Coach, pull back the curtain a little bit for us. And I know fans are curious about this kind of question. The message that you give in that first meeting to your players, what do you say? What is it like to get the season going with that first message?
Yeah, I think it's an important message. It sets the tone for not only training camp, but what the expectations are from the staff and the organization for the players. And, it doesn't have to be long-winded. I think there's a few key points that you want to hit as far as your practice habits, your practice standards that kind of morph into how you want to play and what you're looking for from individual players, but also a team aspect, the unity that we want to have with our group, the resiliency that we want to have with our group. Is going to be extremely important going into the season.
Hey, Coach, as we wrap up, I don't know if you had the opportunity to hear this, but and we played it right at the beginning, but I want you to hear this again, and I want to find out your reaction to Doug Armstrong from yesterday about signing these two players that you just got to offer sheets. Here we go.
Like, I think it was reported that I wouldn't have done this to Kenny Holland. That's the truth. Quite honestly, I'd do it to my mother if she was managing the Oilers.
Okay, so you hear that as a head coach to know that that's your president of hockey operations that's getting you players. How does that make you feel?
Yeah, I mean, quite honestly, I love it. Like, it just shows the commitment that Doug has to, the organization, the players, and most importantly, the fan base. Like, he's just trying to make us better, and this is one of the ways, like I said, that was afforded to him in the CBA. And he's a competitor. He wants to win, and he's brought in two very good players that are going to help us do that.
Coach, thanks so much for the time. We appreciate it. Congratulations on the two new additions, and we know the camp is right around the corner. We'll see you out at Centene.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.
You too. Take care. That's the Blues head coach, Drew Bannister, with us on 101 ESPN.
You know, the thing that amazes me is that when they start camp, it's like 2 nights later they're playing down at downtown and playing games. I'm like, where did spring training go?
Yeah, right.
This isn't spring training. This is like guys are in shape. They go through testing, and away they go. They just start playing games.
Yeah. My big takeaway from that is that we're going to have to be patient as fans with Broberg on the defensive end. Coach said we're going to have to work with him on the defensive end. A great skater, gets the puck out of his zone very well, but don't expect a Jay Bouwmeester, the Jay Bouwmeester of 2019 that won a Blues Stanley Cup. Don't expect him off the bat. But Broberg he's got all the tools to be a really good defenseman.
And that creates a lot of excitement going into the season. He is just 23 years old. How old was Bouwmeester in 2019?
Oh, 36?
Yeah. So it takes a little bit of time there. But that's the thing, is that you have two guys with a lot of potential. The Army-isms, I never get tired of them. I also think about that one back in 2014, remember, where he said you need to take the knife and jam it through their eye into their brain and kill them. And he was talking about the killer instinct that was lacking at the team at the time there. There's so many great Army-isms, and now you add that one from yesterday where he basically said, I don't care if it's my own mother. I'm going to screw her over basically in that situation. So I love what Armstrong says. I think that's something that a lot of fans really appreciate and gravitate to, is that honesty and also the whatever it takes, we're going to get it done approach.
I'm interested if you could really pick his brain, and he was being honest, how he approaches himself, guys. Like, is this a long-term thing? Does he feel pressured to win?
You need to take the knife and jam it through their eye into their brain and kill them.
That's thank you, Doug. I mean, as a coach that was interim and then gets which I think was the right decision to give him the full title as head coach. But what's his, realistically, like, what's his runway? Mm-hmm. And I guess it comes down to winning. I would assume.
At the end of the day, I thought it was interesting that the league has gone to, they've gone from teaching coach and then they hire a championship coach. The people around the league are couching it that way, but you'd think that at some point a teaching coach, John Cooper was a teaching coach and became a championship coach. At some point, a coach is going to do the teaching, but then he's going to be able to get the club over the top, too.
And the Blues have had a little track record of doing that, going back to even prior to Hitch. You know, you find a guy that's a little harder on players, then you find the guy that eases up a little bit more with play, then vice versa, and they're going back and forth. And I think we're seeing that here, too. He seems to be a player's coach. We'll find out more of those this season goes along.
And that's why I asked him that question about that history of being able to develop young players. One of those players specifically is the growth that we've seen from Jake Neighbors, especially last year. The power play was such an issue, and then once you had Drew Bannister take over, sure enough, we saw more of Jake Neighbors, and look at how much it paid off. So that is one of the many players that he has worked with over the years. So he has that familiarity with this young core, and he works well with them. Don't forget, too, we didn't even touch on this with him, but they added Claude Julien to the staff with 20 years of coaching experience. So you have that youth and kind of developing coach in Drew Bannister and what he's able to bring to the table, and then you add in Claude Julien with his years and years of experience and knows what it takes to help build a championship team.
I loved your first question, Randy, and you stole my question, which is line combinations. I love thinking about line combinations, and I had Holloway with Bolduc and Booch being a center, and then I had Broberg with Parayko. And you talk about a couple of guys that could skate. You put those two together, that'd be interesting to watch that.
He sounds like Holloway. He described him as kind of a fourth-line energy guy. I don't know if that's going to be the case off the bat for Holloway. I was thinking that he would be a third-line guy. I'm trying to put my lines together right now and having a great deal of difficulty getting people to mix and match. But I'm guessing that Shen is going to be at wing and Booch is going to be at center. That's my guess.
I had Shen at a wing with Saad and Faksa.
See, I've got Shenner up top with Thomas and Kyrou.
I had Neighbors with Thomas and Kyrou.
And I've got Neighbors with Booch on the second line, and I'm trying to figure out who the best fit there would be on the right wing there.
Where do you guys have Dvorsky?
Springfield.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yep.
Now that you've bolstered your roster with some of these different guys, I don't think you have to force him to be ready on opening night. I think it gives him a little bit more seasoning. We're going to see him for sure.
Yes.
But I just don't think initially we will.
No, and I've got Faksa as my third center and then Mark Teixeira as my fourth center.
I had him as my fourth center with Toropchenko and Joseph. So that's kind of fun. I like doing that. I mean, we're a month away from training camp, and I'm sure we're going to see some of these combinations and see how it fits moving forward.
And the storylines will continue during training camp.
Coming up, we want to hear from you. There's so much consternation with the Cardinals, and you've already texted. If you have thoughts on the Cardinals and you want to provide them via a mic drop, we've got the mic drop feature with the 101 ESPN app. No, there's a lot of emotion going with the Cardinals today, and it's reasonable. And it seems like miscommunication between Oli and Mo. Is that what it really is? That's next on 101 ESPN. Hey, guys, I'm going to make my way over to Mentality later today. And if you are feeling fatigued, if you aren't feeling as sharp mentally as you used to feel, you should get to Mentality, too. They have 2 great locations in St. Louis, Chesterfield and South County. All you need to do is go to lowtusa.com and set up your appointment to get to one of their facilities. And their doctors, if you haven't been there before, are going to do a complete panel on your blood work to find out where your testosterone level is. And every guy loses testosterone as we get older. Well, they're going to find out where your testosterone level is, and then they have an FDA-approved testosterone supplemental treatment that you go in and get every week, and it restores your testosterone level, and it restores your energy level, and it restores your mental sharpness so that you feel better. You're able to get through a workout easier. You're able to coach your kids at night. It does change your life for the better. Mentality is a fantastic local clinic, and oh, by the way, they're going to work with your insurance company to make sure that you have the best out-of-pocket experience possible. Get to Mentality and be the guy that you used to be and that you want to be. Mentality at lowtusa.com. This kind of feels like, to me, that the team is helpless. Like there's virtually no chance for them to be able to compete with the best teams in baseball. Right now, that's the way I feel. Offensively, they do appear
That was
helpless.
you just speaking.
That was just me, but it was earlier.
I looked up, but I didn't see you speaking.
I
looked up and I didn't see you speaking.
And I wasn't talking. It was.
So that was from before.
That was a hot take from me earlier.
Okay.
It was a very
Got
hot
it.
take. Now, was that AI, Randy?
Oh, it might have been.
Oh, wait a minute.
No, it wasn't.
Was it?
It wasn't.
Was it AI, Randy? Does that scare you guys, not to get off
Scary.
subject, but does it scare you guys that somebody can take
Yeah.
your voice and make it say whatever they want it to say?
Yep.
I also find it kind of entertaining.
Yeah.
You like the chaos
I
of it?
do.
Here's the thing, though. Since AI has come into existence, like scam calls will call you, and one of the things they say is don't say yes to a scam call. Well, and my daughter says, because I always like to give scam callers trouble, right? Yeah. And she says, don't talk to them. Don't say things to them. They'll use your voice in AI. And I said, all they have to do is record the radio show.
Right.
You know? So I just give somebody an idea. The Cardinals are 11-17 since the All-Star break, and their offense is not good. I think we're being kind in saying it's not good. 5-11 so far in August. And at the most important time of the year, when they needed to win to stay in the hunt for a wild card spot, they haven't been able to. And it's not for a lack of effort. That's one thing about this team. I think they're trying. I think there are some
tight games, too.
Yeah. I think there are some good players that are playing poorly. And there are some players that now I'm starting to question the quality. I always thought that Paul Goldschmidt would come back. I always thought, okay, a guy like that can't fall off the cliff that fast, be a MVP 2 years ago and be what he is right now. But I'm kind of thinking that's what you got. And I've mentioned the name before of Chris Carter, who hit 41 home runs, led the National League in home runs with the Brewers one year. The next year he was out of baseball. And I could see Nolan Gorman being that guy because Chris Carter did two things. He hit home runs and he struck out, and that's what Nolan Gorman is. The advantage that Nolan Gorman has, there's two advantages. Number one, he's left-handed, and number two, he plays for the Cardinals, where everybody knows that players leave the Cardinals and get better.
And he's 23.
Yeah.
That's the other thing, is he's still young.
I think we can all agree that we would like to see the younger players at this point. Would you like the approach of what the Cubs said? Remember, not too long ago, they said, all right, we are building and we're looking ahead to 2025. If the Cardinals came out and said that, I know that the current players would not like to hear it. They're trying, they're competing every single day. But do you think the fans would appreciate that type of transparency?
I think they would now. I think a lot of fans would say they're out of it, and they're correct. I mean, I don't even look at the division anymore. I just look at the wild card, and they got so many teams to jump over. It ain't going to happen. But I think a lot of fans, to your question, Brooke, I think they would. I think they'd say, okay, I got a reason to pay attention. I want to see Jordan Walker. I want to see Tommy Saggese. Maybe if Gorman walks into a few home runs, I want to watch that. I want to see Alec Burleson at first base. I do think fans would buy into that. They may be frustrated, don't get me wrong, because the team is not winning, but at least there's a focus to the future to try to get these guys better.
The 6-1 Hate, who's generally a very positive guy, texts in and says the players aren't trying. I have not seen the Cardinal players failing to run out ground balls or not hustling on defense. I think there's a difference between a lack of effort and just not having the ability at a certain time. Have you noticed a lack of effort on the part of this team? That's one thing I look for. And that's one thing, if you're going to boo, I give you the right to boo a lack of effort. But I'm just not seeing that from this group of players.
See a lack of hitting.
Yeah.
A lot of it. I mean, when your big guys are supposed to hit and they don't, and that was the mindset going into the season, and I'll put it as three guys, Goldie, Arenado, and Jordan Walker, and they don't hit. And Tommy Edman didn't get healthy until last night, and he made an unbelievable play. He was playing shortstop for the Dodgers. He made an unbelievable play in the hole. I mean, when you see those kind of things that don't come to fruition, this is the kind of season that you have. And when the two big guys specifically don't hit, and you're paying them a lot of money, that is a real problem.
Can I ask you guys a question? Because we talked about this earlier with Jordan Walker, and it was moving day yesterday. Obviously, a lot of different transactions happening. But my first initial reaction when I saw that they called up Luke and Baker and they sent down Jordan Walker was, why didn't they do this in the first place? Is there a reason why you guys
I thought that. I mean,
okay, I was just trying to figure out. I was like, okay, well, if Jordan Walker, if you're going to bring out for this niche role, we all said he should be playing every single day. That's why he's down in the minors. He should be playing every single day. And then you bring him up just for a very temporary niche role where you knew that it wasn't going to really work out for him. And then you bring up Luke and Baker. Why didn't they just do that in the first place?
And Oli said it had to be an outfielder. Well, why? You have enough guys to be able to play the outfield. Yeah, I don't understand that either.
And Baker, 880 OPS, 535 slug, and he's hit 32 home runs. He's driven in almost 80 this year in the minors. Yeah, if you were going to use Walker just briefly, it doesn't really make sense. I think you bring up Luke and Baker, give him a run against left-handed pitching, and you let Walker continue to have success down in the minor leagues because he was starting to get footing. And those are the kind of things I've been talking about, is that as frustrating as it may be for him personally to stay in the minor leagues, ultimately at the age of 22 to have success going to the off season on a good note, that probably is more important than just having him yo-yo back and forth. Not but yo-yo going back and forth.
A couple of texts I want to get to. Number one from the 217. I think if you asked 100 Cardinals fans if they're pleased with Arenado's effort, 99 would say no. And that's one of the ones where I always, when a player, especially like Arenado, who has been so good for so long, looks like he's hurt, he probably is. And I have every reason to believe, and he did have back issues. How long ago did he have that about, Matthew?
About a week back.
Oh, yeah, there we go. He has missed time with injuries this year, and I have, and this is a guy that you never said, okay, he doesn't hustle. When he was with Colorado or his first few years, he looks to me like a player that's playing hurt.
I have talked to people down with the Cardinals and asked them what's going on with Arenado, and one of the things that they say is that he is wearing this maybe harder than anybody else. It's been really tough on him. And look, you either do or you don't at the major league level. You either produce or you don't produce. His numbers have been down from where he is historically, but to question his effort, that is not something that they are questioning one bit. They think the effort is there, but mentally, he really wears it. He wants to win. He wants to be a major contributor to it, and it's been tough on him this year. But that's
tell.
hey, you're making a lot of money. You either do or you don't.
Exactly.
It's the big leagues.
Yeah, and you can tell that he's really pressing right now. Same thing with Paul Goldschmidt. At the end of the day, though, you just touched on it right there, Dan. They are the guys who are making the big money, and that's where a lot of that big pressure comes from, where people are expecting you to come up in a lot of important situations, and you just haven't been able to see it this season. Having them both really drop off at the same time has been so devastating to this offense.
314 says, Baker has been up here. He can't hit up here. Yes, he can hit in the minors, not Major League Baseball. I think if he was somebody that they looked at as being a viable option in the major leagues, he would have been up here already.
I shouldn't say he is. I think the Cardinals look at him as a 4A player.
Yes.
But the Cardinals looked at Luke Voit as the same thing, and he led the American League in home runs one year.
Yep. I mean, that's can't argue with that.
Yeah, the evaluation and development is lacking in the organization. So Baker will probably wind up being a star for the Twins or something like that.
He might. You just never know.
You never know at this point.
Not with this,
based off of the recent trends.
Well,
it's
somebody
not
can
crazy.
evaluate the talent, right? Some people are, when you look at all the former Cardinals in baseball, somebody is evaluating the talent to get it into the organization. It's developing the talent and then evaluating it at the pro level that is the problem.
What about Walker just not having success? And maybe this is the best thing to go back down. I'm throwing it out there.
It's not. The best thing for him would be to be playing here at the major league level.
You think so?
But is it better for him to be playing there than sitting here? 100%.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's got to play.
Yeah.
I just wonder, they look at it and say, we don't like what we see. You got to go back down and you got to work on what we're talking about, because it ain't going to cut it up here. He was 1 for 11. I thought some of the at-bats he looked overmatched. Yeah. And maybe the best thing for him is to truly go down.
Gorman looks overmatched right now, too. And he has looked overmatched for a long time. He does have options. You could send him down. At this point, there was no point of bringing Walker up just to have him sit on the bench.
Yep. The fight is coming up, and we've got a return fighter coming up here on 101 ESPN. What if I told you that you could sell your home, get the cash, and stay in the home for up to 12 months while you find or build your next home? Gloria Lou is able to eliminate the traditional hassles of buying and selling at the same time, and she can do that for you. You can sell your home, you can get the cash, and stay in your home for up to 12 months with Gloria Lou. She is sensational. She is with Your Home Sold, Guaranteed Realty, and she is expert at covering any of the different ways that you can sell your home. Her name is her promise and says it all. Your Home Sold, Guaranteed Realty. She's mastered the home selling promise by guaranteeing upfront and in writing to sell your home at your agreed to price and time frame, or she'll buy it herself, guaranteed. Your agent does not compare. That's because Gloria already has the buyers. Thousands of ready buyers with over 20 years of buyers in an exclusive database that are ready to buy under the right circumstances with what we talked about right at the beginning of this commercial. Call Gloria Lou, 314-325-6888, 314-325-6888, or visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com. Gloria and seller must agree on price and possession date. To learn more, visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Cardinals fall to the Brewers late last night, 3-2. Could not get a late run going in the ninth inning as both Goldie and Gorman go down swinging in the Cardinals fall. They'll try to get back in the winning column tonight, 6:45 first pitch, and it'll be a battle of the righties. Tobias Myers for the Brewers faces off against Kyle Gibson for your Cardinals. That is your Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
Welcome to the fight. In the red corner, Average Joe Listener. And in the blue corner, the undisputed king of morning drive. Please welcome Randy Carricker.
Welcome back to the opening drive. Brooke, Dan, Randy, and Rocco here, and it is time for the fight, and we have a returning fighter today. Welcome back, Tom. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you all today?
Oh, we are doing great because you were back here today. How'd you feel after yesterday's victory?
Oh, I'm more nervous today than I've ever been.
Oh, why?
It's more pressure to win twice.
Do you have a lot of like family and friends? I always ask the people that win after day one or day two. Do you tell everybody, and then all of a sudden they tune in around 8:30 to see how you do?
Well, they're supposed to. I don't know if they'll get up.
All right.
I took a double dose of smart pills today. I just hope they kick in.
All right. Well, that's good to know. Let's see if it happens. Here we go with question one.
All right, Tom, here we go. When the Broncos stole Champ Bailey from the Redskins in a straight-up player-for-player trade, who did they give up? Was it Trevor Pryce, Ruben Drones, or Clinton Portis?
I don't really know. I think Portis, though.
Is that your final answer, Tom?
Yes, sir.
Okay. On this day in 1999, Adam Kennedy made his major league debut for the Cardinals. He would get sent off to the Angels in the Edmonds deal, the Jimmy Edmonds deal 6 months later. Which pitcher was also included in that deal? Was it Juan Acevedo, Darren Oliver, or Kent Bottenfield?
Oliver.
Darren it is, and we move to question 3.
Today is Jack Buck's birthday. Prior to joining the Cardinals minor league as a broadcaster, which Big Ten school did Joe start his play-by-play career while as a student? Was it Northwestern, Indiana, or Ohio State?
Joe? Did you say Joe or Jack?
Jack.
Oh.
Did I say Joe on accident? I might have. I don't know.
I don't know. You said Joe. You said Jack first and then Joe, so I'm kind of confused.
Do you want me to read it again for you, Tom?
Yeah, please.
Okay. Today is Jack Buck's birthday. Prior to joining the Cardinals minor leagues as a broadcaster, which Big Ten school did Joe? It does say Joe on the second line. That's what it is. You're right. You were right, Tom. Jack started his play-by-play career while as a student. Was it Northwestern, Indiana, or Ohio State?
I want to say Ohio State for some reason.
Okay. Tom, good guesses so far. So here we go with question 4.
These are smart pills, not guesses.
Well, excuse me.
There you go, Tom.
I'm sorry, Tom. Let's move on to question 4 then. All right, who caught the one passing touchdown from Kurt Warner in the Super Bowl 36? Was it Marshall Faulk, Isaac Bruce, or Ricky Prohl?
Ricky Prohl.
All right, Tom, how are we feeling with those smart pills?
Kind of dumb.
Oh, no. You never know. And I think they might have kicked in at the right time. Sorry about that, too. Sometimes I feel like Anchorman in that moment. If it's on the sheet, then I'm going to say it. So thank you for correcting me on that. It should have been Jack both times, but it had Joe on there. Either way, It works out. Here comes Randy right now.
Kind of happened yesterday, too.
Oh, did it? Whoopsies. All right, here's Randy right now. Randy, say hi to Tom again.
Tom, good morning. How you doing?
I'm well, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for listening. Thanks for playing. We appreciate it.
Tom said he took smart pills this morning.
Oh, that's good.
Wants to be sharp for the fight.
Love it.
You, sir, do not need that.
Oh.
He has a banana and Mountain Dew. Oh, the Mountain Dew today.
Wow. You're going to be sharp today.
I hope so.
Are you ready?
I need it. I'm ready. Yes, sir.
All right, well, let's do it.
Okay.
Here's question number 1, Randy. When the Broncos stole Champ Bailey from the Redskins in a straight-up player-for-player trade, who did they give up?
I believe that would have been, Matthew always says, don't play with my food, right? So I shouldn't say Floyd Little or Mike Anderson or Orlandis Gary or something like that. So
I really like the Orlandis Gary poll.
Thank you. I'm going to go with Clinton Portis for Champ Bailey. That's what I'm going to say, is Clinton Portis, who, by the way, was an entertaining sort with
Remember
Washington.
how he dressed up in media scrums and things of that nature?
He was good. He may have wound up in jail. May or may not have wound up. He did wind up in jail. Clinton Portis. Yeah, Clinton. And by a little aside here, I was pissed when the Rams took Torrey Holt rather than Champ Bailey, because I wanted to take another wide receiver named Dwayne Bates in the second round of that draft. Holt and Dre Bly wound up being a much better choice for Charlie Army and Dick Vermeil than Bailey and Dwayne Bates would have been.
So you're saying we're glad that you're doing the fight and not running a draft?
Yes, exactly.
All right, question 2. On this day, in 1999,
August 21st, 1999,
Adam Kennedy made his major league debut for the Cardinals. He would get sent off to the Angels in the Jimmy Edmonds deal 6 months later. Which pitcher was also included in that trade?
I had the great good fortune of inducting Dave Duncan into the St. Louis Sports Hall of Fame. And I asked Dave Duncan what he was most proud of in his career. And Dave Duncan said, getting 18 wins out of Kent Bottenfield.
Made it to the All-Star game, which was at Fenway Park in 1999.
Yep.
One of the most famous All-Star games ever.
It was, yeah, with Ted Williams there on the golf cart. So I'm going to, can you repeat the end of the question? I was just thinking Kent Bottenfield. Was Kent Bottenfield the answer that I should have given?
Probably.
Okay, let's go with Kent Bottenfield and Adam Kennedy. Who, by
Justice
the way,
for Tom. No, go ahead.
Should Adam Kennedy have worn number 47, by the way?
No, that was the great Lee Smith.
But Adam Kennedy could have been AK-47.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
Well, with that arm,
Adam Kennedy on the flight out there puked all over the place.
Oh, did he?
Just a little nervous before his major league debut.
Oh, wow.
Had a few butterflies.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, it was a Kennedy and Bottenfield for Jimmy baseball.
On to question 3 we go.
Okay.
Today is Jack Buck's birthday. Prior to joining the Cardinals minor leagues as a broadcaster, which Big Ten school did Jack start his play-by-play career while as a student?
Jack went to The Ohio State University. How old would he be today? 99?
I
think so. Let's see. He died when he was 77, and that was in June of 02. I
think you're right. It's been 22 years.
Yeah.
Yep.
99.
No.
He'll be 100.
Yeah, August 21st, 1924.
So he'd be 100 today.
And still beloved as much as he was.
Absolutely.
At 77.
Yep, no doubt.
All right, question 4. Who caught the one passing touchdown from Kurt Warner in Super Bowl 36?
We tied the game, Dan, at 17 apiece when Warner hit Ricky Prohl for a touchdown into the left edge of the end zone in the final minutes. And then that's when Tom Brady took over and had a very fortuitous for him intentional grounding that wasn't called. And Tommy Polley just could not keep anybody in bounds. And the Rams wound up losing that game on the Adam Vinatieri field goal. And it was Ricky Prohl that scored that touchdown from Kurt Warner.
You're getting emotional.
Ricky's one of my favorite guys. Ricky's going to be in town on the 21st of 1 month from today. And Ricky and I did a TV show together. We had a great time. Ricky's one of my all-time favorite athletes.
And they're doing a Q&A with those guys, right?
Yeah. Ricky, Mike Martz, and Mike Jones.
If there was ever a guy to MC that, that's right up your alley. It should be you.
Oh, thank you, Daniel. I appreciate that. But so I got a chance yesterday to visit with one of my, again, I don't historically develop personal relationships with players, but I developed over the years just a great relationship. I love Trent Green. He's one of my favorite people. And you guys know, DeMarco is one of my all-time favorites. So this season, on the 25th anniversary of the Rams winning that Super Bowl, each week during the season, I'm going to interview somebody on the date of the game. So I've got Charlie Army. We're going to start next week, the general manager, the architect of the greatest show on turf next week. And then Trent is going to be like the last preseason game. And Trent and I had a great conversation yesterday. And then DeMarco Farr on September 12th, the date of the Baltimore opener. And then we're going to, as the season unfolds, we're going to talk to Isaac and Todd Light and London Fletcher and Kevin Carter. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. And I never had, although the 80s Cardinals I covered every day, and I have great relationships with those guys too, but I never had a group of players that I became friendly with more than the 99 Rams.
Well, you could tell with Torrey Holt yesterday.
Yeah, just love those guys.
He's phenomenal.
Yeah.
The results for the fight? It's only fitting that on the 100th birthday of Jack Buck, you hear this before I announce the winner.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy!
The winner and still champion of the fight, Randy Carricker.
The fight is presented by Golf Discount of St. Louis, with the most experienced club fitters in town. Why shop anywhere else?
Just win, baby.
I'm sorry, Tom. You did great. You got 3 correct, but unfortunately, Randy Carricker hit the jack, and he takes you down today 4-3.
I guess I should have took 3 smart pills. I don't know.
Should have taken that extra smart pill. Would have helped you on number 2. Really quickly, the answers here. The Broncos and Redskins trade for Champ Bailey was, in fact, Clinton Portis. Yeah, he's not doing so great now. On this day in 1999, Adam Kennedy makes his major league debut for the Cardinals. He eventually gets sent off alongside Kent Bodenfield to the Angels for Jimmy Ball game. Today is Jack Buck's birthday. Jack Buck's birthday, and you would have known it was only Jack if I didn't write Joe in the question like a moron. But I'm sure somebody at some point in his life called him Joe, so I wasn't completely wrong. Prior to joining the Cardinals minor league, but I was wrong, so that's what matters. Prior to joining the Cardinals minor leagues as a broadcaster, which Big Ten school did Jack start his play-by-play career while a student? He was, in fact, a Buckeye, Ohio State. He had a friend who convinced him to go there, and who caught the one passing touchdown from Kurt Warner in Super Bowl 36. Warner had to run the other one in, and he got Ricky Prohl, like Randy said, in the back of the end zone for the first one, 14 points in the fourth quarter there. Not enough for your 2001 St. Louis Rams. A 4-3 win for Randy Carricker against Tom today. Tom, thank you so much for joining the fight and joining the show.
All right, thank you, guys.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Tom.
Ricky Prohl, by the way, a great football immaculate grid guy.
Yeah. Oh.
Just keep that in mind.
Moving forward, I will.
Okay, good. So that's the fight here on 101 ESPN. Coming up, should Doug Armstrong's approach be instructive for the Cardinals as they speak to their fans? That's next on 101 ESPN. Hey, have you had your HVAC maintenance done yet this season? It's just like getting the oil changed in your car. And by doing maintenance on your outdoor air conditioner, it can save you a costly repair and also allows your system to run more efficiently. At Hoffman Brothers, their home protection plan includes 2 seasonal maintenances for your heating and cooling systems. We use the home protection plan, and it's great because Hoffman Brothers will call you to set up your appointment. You don't have to think of it, and they're going to send you free filters as well. And if you sign up today, it can give you peace of mind knowing that you're covered and you're going to be able to have your systems taken care of, both your furnace and your air conditioner, every single year. Don't forget to change your air filter, by the way. When you have a dirty filter, it can impede your airflow, and that causes your HVAC equipment to work harder, and to maintain the desired temperature, it's going to need the air filter to be changed. So here's what you need to do. Schedule your maintenance directly at HoffmanBros.com or give them a call at 314-664-3011. Hoffman Brothers does amazing work, improving life in every home. Hoffman Brothers, an independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
Contrast of what you just saw from the St. Louis Blues versus what you're seeing from the St. Louis Cardinals. The difference. You got a damn GM saying, I don't care if it's my mother that is the GM for the Oilers. I'm doing what is best for this team. And the damn Cardinals are like, well, you know, net.
That's Kerry Davis yesterday on the Fast Lane on 101 ESPN. And I was
Sounds a little fired up.
Yeah, he does.
Just a little bit.
And I was just mentioning to Brooke and Matthew and Dan how Doug Armstrong, with a simple, hey, if my mother would have been in charge of the Oilers, I would have done the same thing. That competitive fire and desire gets people fired up. And the Blues' ability to lay out a plan and execute a plan, I don't think anybody expects the Blues to be a Stanley Cup team this year. In fact, I would think most of us would believe that this year they'll still be in the hunt for a playoff spot, might not make the playoffs. But the messages are sent in such different ways from the Cardinals and the Blues that with the Cardinals, there are a lot of people that think they don't care about winning. How could you listen to Doug Armstrong yesterday and say he doesn't care about winning? Even though the teams are probably going to be similar in where they end up in terms of the playoffs, the Blues will probably be a little better than the Cardinals. My point is that I believe the messaging from the Cardinals could be a lot better. And I know this is, Dan, you always say it comes down to winning. But I think in 2024, messaging plays such a big role. And I believe that the Cardinals need to do a better job of communicating to their fans what they want to do, and especially communicating to their fans, if they indeed are competitive, how competitive they are.
Just be transparent. I think
Yep.
that's the biggest thing, because the whole step of the way, especially with the Blues and their vision of what they're building going into this season, Doug Armstrong has stayed true to his word, and he's not just saying the words, he's also has the actions to back it up. And I think that's the biggest things that fans resonate with, is that you can say a lot of words, you can say a lot of things saying, okay, we want to, go win another Stanley Cup this year. We're going to go win another Stanley Cup this year. They have been more in the line of saying, we're really building around this young core, and then look at what they continue to do this entire offseason is really supplement that and stay true to that vision. And I think a lot of fans can truly appreciate that. Even look at last season, when we knew that they weren't going to make the playoffs with the Blues, the fan attendance was still really high towards the end. And I think that's because the ownership and Doug Armstrong were very transparent with the fan base about the expectations and the vision that they're trying to execute.
Would baseball fans accept a retool?
They aren't accepting a retool right now.
Yeah, I don't know if I mean, when I'm saying a retool, I mean, Sajaci is up, Gorman's down, Walker is up playing every single day. Throw out anybody else you want. In the young players, would they accept a retool as opposed to how the Blues have done it? And Tom Stillman sat in that chair, Randy, that you're sitting in right now. Use the word Brooke transparent, and I think fans accept that.
Yep.
I just wonder if the expectations are higher with the Cardinals than they are with the Blues, even with the Stanley Cup.
I believe, and this is my personal thought as a fan, if next year you don't have Lynn and Gibson back, and you have McGreevy, Graceffo, any of the young guys.
Matthews.
Quinn Matthews. Okay, and so you've got a really young rotation, and you don't have Goldschmidt here, and you have Walker, and you have Burleson, and you have a young lineup, and your only veteran is Arenado because you have him under contract. I think fans buy into that. If you tell them, here's what we're doing, we don't expect to be great in 25, but we're building so we can be great in 26, I think fans would be all in on that.
I think that they would be, too. I think the fans would be in on a retool. From 3 and 4, yes, the fans to take a retool. We're doing it right now anyway. So you think that they are doing that right now? Because we have talked and discussed about the passing of the torch from the veterans to the young players, and that kind of obviously seems because the older players were not performing to the level that you were expecting with Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Arenado this entire season. You had the younger players emerge. Is that already happening right now? They just haven't said it.
I don't think it is, because you're not sitting Goldschmidt.
Right. I agree with that.
So if
and the 3 veteran starting pitchers.
Yeah, I mean, you're still going with guys that you started the season with. So to me, it's not a complete retool just yet.
We'll talk more about retool versus rebuild and more with our buddy John Denton from MLB.com next on 101 ESPN. I had such a great experience in purchasing a vehicle with Auto Loan Pro. And if you are in the market for a new vehicle, you should go to autoloanpro.com. Whether you're going to buy a vehicle from them or if you're just needing financing, here's one thing you need to know. And I never even thought about this until I talked to the Auto Loan Pro people. But you walk into a car dealership, you say, okay, I want this car. And then they send you into a finance manager's office, and he says, well, we got these 2 different loan ideas for you. At autoloanpro.com, they're working with over 50 different lenders to help you get the very best financing. Not just a couple, but 50 different people. So when I went in, I got a Honda Pilot, and they said, okay, well, what are you looking for in terms of length of loan? What would you like your payment to be? And within reason, they got me the best deal that I could possibly get, and I'm very, very happy with it. You'll be happy with it, too. And if you can make a payment, they can get you a loan at Auto Loan Pro. Plus, if you go to the website, check out their playbook, find out how they do it, and you can also buy a vehicle from them. Financing a car, there's one thing to know. Choose the Auto Loan Pro, autoloanpro.com.
Hey everyone, it's Brooke here, and I want to tell you why I love the Missouri Athletic Club. It's because it really feels like I've joined a community. I love going over to the West location. The pool is still open as of right now, and they have the best pool in town. I also go over there and hang out and get a buffalo chicken wrap. I love their sweet potato fries with it. I go over there, I play tennis with Scott. It's been so much fun getting back in the sport that I love and played my entire life. And also going over there to work out with Christine, my personal trainer. I've seen so many great results since working with her, and it's just fun chatting with her and catching up with her every single week. They always provide such a wonderful experience, and that's why I love my MAC.
The opening drive, 101 ESPN, and we head to the celebrity line, and our friend John Denton from MLB.com joins us. He covers the Cardinals every day. Would you like to have that gig? John, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Randy. That's pretty funny. Good luck.
This is tough times, and John, you've been a Cardinal fan all your life. People that aren't aware of it, you grew up and have watched the Cardinals from afar. How does this stack up, what you're seeing right now and what you saw in 2023 as well? Because I was saying earlier, it kind of makes me sad because the Cardinals have been so good for my entire life.
Yeah, it's tough to watch right now. There's a lot of people in that room that care. And when the team's not hitting, they look flat. They look uninspired. That's not the case. I mean, they care. They want to try to win. It's just when you don't generate offense, when you don't drive the baseball, when you don't hit extra base hits, when you don't hit the ball over the wall, you look like a flat team. You look like a team that's almost given up. But I know that's not the case with the guys in that room. I know Oli Mo still wants to win, and then John Mozeliak still want to win. The product just looks, pretty bad right now because, for whatever reason, this offense just cannot get it going. And last night they load the bases in the ninth inning, something you would never see, you would think you would ever see in your lifetime. They pitch around Lars Nootbaar, intentionally walk him to get to Paul Goldschmidt. You would never see that. The guy was the best player on the planet 2 years ago. And, Devin Williams throws that changeup, strikes out Goldschmidt. He throws the changeup, strikes out Nolan Gorman. It just, even when they got something going there, it still ended poorly. So it's a rough time right now. They're really struggling.
And adding to the rough time, you have the news of Jordan Walker with him being sent down yesterday. What did you think of the handling of Jordan Walker in this very small situation? He was quickly brought up and quickly sent back down after serving a very limited role as a platoon bat up here against left-handed pitching.
Yeah, Brooke, I wasn't a fan of any of the way it was handled. I get it. Oli Mo explained that they brought him up to face left-handers, and the reasoning behind it was solid, but this is how you end up with a Dylan Carlson. This is how you end up with a Tyler O'Neill. This is how you break the spirit of a player. This is how you shake the confidence of a player. Like Jordan Walker can hit righties. He can hit lefties. He's not a platoon player. None of it made sense. I mean, why didn't you bring him up 10 days earlier when you were facing Shota Imanaga and Justin Steele and a handful of other lefties? Instead, you brought him up when you were facing mainly righties. I don't like the handling of any of it. But then again, it's a team that's desperate. They're trying to find a spark. They're trying to do something. They hoped that he could come up and hit the ball the way he did in the minors 10 or 15 days before. But, it really kind of reeked of desperation, and it just I don't like the handling of it all. That's not how you treat one of the top prospects in your organization by bringing him up and hitting him only against lefties and then sending him back down a week later. That's how you end up with a Dylan Carlson. Like, Dylan Carlson was broken in this organization. Like, his confidence was ruined, and then he goes to Tampa and does what he does. So it was, it didn't feel right the whole time.
John, I've been saying that for probably the last month or so. If you want to bring him up, he needs to play. He needs to stay here every day. And if not, and goes back down to the minor leagues, if I'm the Cardinals, I really am concerned about his confidence moving forward. And he wonders, can I do this? He wonders if the organization has faith in him, and yada, yada, yada. So the question would be, how do you think he personally has handled what's taken place with him? And he's only 22, but what's taken place in his young career?
Yeah, Danny, he's a smart guy. He's got a great support system around him. He's got a great mother and father and, family support. But, anybody would be rattled by what just happened, I didn't think his getting sent down in 23 was justified. I think that was done more to relieve the congestion in the outfield at the time. And then he comes up and finishes the season really well. He started this season. He's struggling terribly. He gets sent down. Okay, I get it. But, I mean, like you said, if you bring him back, you got to play him. Like, if you have a 6'6", 250-pound kid who was the number one prospect in baseball, you don't bring him up just to face lefties. Like, that kid needs to play. He needs to play every day. They know that. And, Oli and Mo have both said, if this was April, it would be a different equation than it is in August. They brought him up because they're trying to win a couple games. That could have been the difference between making the playoffs and not making the playoffs. But I feel like you don't do that to a prospect of this caliber. You don't risk damaging him forever. You don't risk ruining his confidence. So I get that they're desperate. I get they're trying to win games, but it just didn't feel right at all.
John, the teams develop reputations among players, and the other guy that was jettisoned yesterday was Brandon Crawford. 145 games were played by the Cardinals. He had 80 plate appearances, played in 28. No. Was he productive? No. Did he ever have a chance to get any rhythm? No. He was brought in here as a 26th guy to be a backup shortstop. My question would be, does a guy who's established and is really respected among other baseball players like Brandon Crawford, does the way he's treated, does that shed any light on the way the Cardinals treat other veteran players for them that are considering coming here?
Yeah, Randy, I don't think it was great. I think the appearances don't look good. But, like you said, Brandon Crawford is an amazing guy. He really helped that clubhouse out this year. He was a big help to Mason Wynn. He was a big help to Brendan Donovan. His locker was specifically, near Alec Burleson for a reason to help those guys. He helped those guys a ton. They loved having him around. He was maybe the most popular guy in that room as far as rookies looked up to him. Veterans were always hanging out with him. Like, he had the perfect demeanor, kind of like Carp, to be that 25th, 26th guy and to have an influence. No, it didn't look good, and no, Brendan didn't play that well. He joined the team halfway through training camp, so he didn't get a full camp. Didn't start off well. He finally found his stroke, and when they went to him several times, he actually played well. Like you said, it doesn't look good, but I think Brendan kind of knows it's over. From the outside, I'm sure there are a lot of veterans around the league who saw that and kind of cringed, but I think Brendan knows. He's had his family with him on just about every road trip. he's kind of been trying to soak it in. I think he knows that this was his last run anyway.
John, as we evaluate the positional players, you also have to look at the starting rotation and how things will shape out, because you have Lance Lynn and Steven Matz returning here really soon. So what happens with the starting rotation? I know that Mozeliak spoke yesterday, and you heard Oli as well. Is there even a possibility maybe of a six-man rotation happening here?
Yeah, that's a possibility, definitely, of them going to a six-man. They don't want to take Andre Palante out of the rotation. I mean, he's been their best pitcher for the past 6 weeks. I give Andre Palante a lot of credit. I mean, he went out and found that sinker that he could throw that runs in on right-handers. It changed the direction of his career. He was just going to be just another guy without that pitch. He was going to probably go back to the bullpen if it wasn't for that pitch. But now he's become an effective starter. Steven Matz is going to make one more start at the minor leagues tonight, and then probably in the next 2 or 3 days he'll be up. Lance Lynn threw a live bullpen yesterday. Lance is going to throw another live bullpen on Monday, which, I'm kind of curious to why there's so much time in between those. So Lance probably won't be up until the end of next week, but you're almost going to need a six-man spot, or you're going to have to take a veteran and demote him to the bullpen.
John, has there been talk about Nolan Gorman and maybe going to the minor leagues and having a little bit of a reset before this season is through?
Yeah, Danny, that was one of the questions that I asked John Mozeliak yesterday. And, he said point blank, this is a league of production. And if you don't produce, eventually something has to change. I think that's something they've resisted. They tried to stay away from it. They don't want him. They don't want, for lack of better terms, they don't want to do a Jordan Walker with him. They don't want to send him down and shake his confidence. But right now, something has to change, because I think he's third in the league in strikeouts, but he's played, a lot fewer games than the guys at the top of that category. So he's frustrated. He's a guy who's very even-keeled on the outside, but it's really burning inside of him. I talked to him for about 20 minutes right after the All-Star break, and he really thought that could be a reset for him. He worked hard over the break, did a lot of, things on his swing, but he just hasn't seen the results. And it's almost too late to send him down now, but who knows? Maybe it would be the best thing because he's really struggling.
Hey, John, as Mo mentioned to you, this is a production-based business, a league of production. If the Cardinals have back-to-back losing full seasons for the first time since 1958-59, do you think that because of that lack of production, there might be prices to pay in the front office or in the dugout?
Yeah, Randy, it's not my place to question people's jobs or, call for their heads or anything like that. But, I mean, we all know how sports work. But, like, pro sports work a certain way. You either produce or things are change. And, we all know. Look at the Cardinals roster from last season to this season. There was a lot of churn. There were a lot of changes made. If it doesn't get better, I think something will change. We all know that Mo's getting very close to the end. He's been very open about that. He wants to do something else. If this thing continues to get ugly, I wouldn't be shocked if Mo said, "Hey, I've had enough," and he steps aside. I wouldn't be shocked if there was, changes with the coaching staff. That's just the way pro sports work. I'm not calling for anybody's head. I'm not saying it should be done. But that's how pro sports work. If you don't win, if you don't turn things around, changes are made.
And people might not recognize this, but Mo is self-aware. Mo told Frank Cusimano earlier this season that he understands that there is fatigue with him doing the job. He understands that the team is losing. Mo is not blind to these facts out there either.
Not at all. No, he understands. He has the pulse of it. He gets it. And, to Mo's credit, I think a lot of the changes he made were made the team better. Like where they were, they went to a stretch where they were 32-18, the best record in the National League over a 50-game period, and it was because of their pitching. It was because of their bullpen, the remade bullpen. So the changes Mo made in the offseason helped this team, but he also didn't touch the hitting. And he said yesterday, it's a sign that just when you think you have something figured out, that's not always the case. Like maybe he should have added some hitting. He mentioned that himself yesterday. So he knows that this thing is bad. He knows that this is not the way the Cardinals have been throughout their history. And he's wearing it, just as hard as anyone else.
And because of that, John, do you see more of a youth movement in the final month of the season? Maybe find out about a Burleson at first base, a Tommy Sajaci maybe comes up, some of those type of things as we wrap up this season.
Yeah, I think definitely, Danny. Sajaci had 2 more hits, hit a home run again last night. I think he has a home run in 3 or 4 straight games now. I think he's definitely got to be here soon. You need to know whether you can, what you have in him, because you got to protect him from the Rule 5 draft this off season. So you really have to find out what you got in him. You got to find out what you have in Lucan Baker. I know he can only play one position and he's the DH, but he needs some at bats down the stretch. And you know what? Jordan Walker needs to be back here and get some at bats. Instead of bringing him up for 1 week and facing just lefties. Like, if you're out of this thing, he needs to come up and play every day the way he did down the stretch last year.
It's kind of a tough question because we're a few months away from whether or not they have to make a decision on this. But what's your gut feeling on Goldie and coming back to St. Louis?
I think Goldie still wants to be here. I think he still wants to play. It's got to be at a number that the organization likes. It's got to be significantly less than what it is now. I think if Goldie tells them he wants to be here, I think they will bring him back. I think they believe in his work ethic. They believe that he could find something again. But this is not the Paul Goldschmidt that St. Louis has known and, for all these years. I mean, Danny, he has 3 extra base hits all season with runners in scoring position. It's shocking to think about that he could go from 2022, where in August of 2022, he was 1 home run away from being the Triple Crown leader in all 3 categories, to now where he has 3 extra base hits all season with runners in score position. So I do think he still wants to play. I do know that he still wants to be here. It's just going to have to be at a number and an understanding that maybe he's not an everyday player.
John, we wanted to get you on, and we're thankful that you did come on, and we're thankful also that we didn't interrupt a pickleball game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no pickleball today, unfortunately.
Okay.
The old knees are paying for earlier in the week.
Well, take care of yourself. We'll see you soon, and thanks so much for the time. We appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
You too. John Denton, MLB.com. Read his work at Cardinals.com. Coming up, the Rush Hour Reset on 101 ESPN. There you go.
Hey everyone, it's Brooke here for Universal Windows Direct. Football season is here right around the corner, and you know what that means. Fall is also just around the corner, and with cooler temperatures on the way, it's time to make sure your home is ready. If you've been dealing with drafty windows all summer, struggling on those crazy hot days, your AC working overtime, now is the perfect time to upgrade with Universal Windows Direct before the cold weather starts to kick in. Their windows feature super spacer technology, which makes these windows perform better, last longer, and helps keep your home more comfortable no matter what the season is. Plus, Universal Windows Direct backs it all up with a true lifetime warranty as long as you own the home, and a 20-year warranty to the next homeowner. So your windows from Universal perform better and they last longer. Schedule your free in-home estimate today, and for every 2 windows you buy, get the next 2 for free, plus 0% financing for 60 months. That is 5 years. Restrictions apply. Mention my name and get an additional $250 off your next project. So go to uwd.com uwd.com. That's uwd.com. And like me, you'll be saying, I love my windows.
We're just in and I'm not saying that this is a bad thing. We're in an angry time right now in St. Louis, sports-wise.
I think it's fair to say. Well, specifically with the Cardinals, because I think people are pretty excited about the Blues and the moves that they made here recently.
I really appreciate the passion. One thing that we don't have, at least among the people that are listening to this show and texting in and joining us on the Air Alliance team studio cam and on the chat there, we don't have apathy.
Nope. No, people are invested.
Yep.
One way or another. You always say it, excuse me, is that number one, you got to clear your throat. And number two, you have passion. Either you're upset and fans are upset right now, or you go along with the team and you're one of those things, one of those fans that say things may be bad, but I'm sticking with the team. But when fans say, I just don't care, that's a real problem. We've talked about that the other day, and apathy and fans that are apathetic, not a good thing to have in town at all.
Yeah, and last night, the smallest non-COVID crowd ever at Busch Stadium 3.
Do you think that the fans have gone through the 5 stages of grief? Now, I brought this up last year. I hate that I have to bring this up again, but the 5 stages of grief are denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. I think that we've reached the acceptance and apathy phase, as you mentioned, Dan, with the fan base, where they're accepting that this is what this team is currently right now. I think they also have accepted that a while, but it's kind of past the point of where you have the early stages of denial and anger. You could say the denial phase was when they were able to, come back from that 15-24 start, where you say, okay, maybe I can buy into this group again. And then you start to bargain a little bit. Well, things start to falter, but they could get back on track. They were able to dig themselves out of a hole like they did earlier in the year. And then you get sad, and then you just accept that it is what it is at this point. But when we're talking about acceptance, it shouldn't be acceptable when you're talking about looking at this offseason now and saying it is what it is. You can't hear that again from the organization of it was a one-off, because it's not a one-off. You said it yesterday, Randy. It's a two-off at this point. There has to be some bigger changes now.
But here's the thing that I think the Cardinals are going to run into. The price of a superstar is not within the Cardinals' realistic price range now. People say, the Cardinals have plenty of money. Well, they aren't going to sign Juan Soto for $500 million. They just don't generate that sort of revenue in this market. The Yankees can afford it. The Dodgers can afford it. There's a select few that can afford to go out and get that player. So what the Cardinals need desperately to happen, and this is why Jordan Walker should be here, they need Jordan Walker to turn into a superstar, to be that 35 to 40 homer guy, that 900 OPS guy, that guy that Paul Goldschmidt used to be. They need Jordan Walker to be that guy. And I don't know if I asked this on the air or off, but next year, I would not be surprised if on opening day you have Newt Barr in left, Scott Orsiani in center, Walker in right, Arenado, Wynn, Donovan, Burleson, with Pages behind the plate, Contreras as your DH, and then you hope that you can turn a guy like Gorman into something. And then with the guys we love, Kyle Gibson's listening right now, and Lance Lynn. But you're going to have Gray, you're going to have Michaelis, and who am I leaving out there?
Palante.
Well, Palante, and then Matz maybe or maybe not. But give your young pitchers a chance. But it's imperative that two things happen for the Cardinals. Walker step up as a superstar, and somebody step up as a legitimate number one pitcher. Because along with the fact that the Cardinals probably won't be able to sign a free agent superstar, price went through the roof for everybody once Ohtani signed his contract. A starting pitcher Corbin Burns is going to get $35 million a year for 6-7 years. Cardinals aren't swimming in those waters. It's just not. They're not going to do that. So they need a young player to turn into that guy.
Tink Hence. Got to hope for him. Got to hope for Matthews. Got to hope for Graceffo. You got to hope for one of these guys to step up and be a legitimate starter that you can put in your rotation. You got to have it, because as you just ran down the rotation for next year, I'm seeing guys, Randy, that they probably need to move on from and then take a chance on some of your younger guys and see what they can do.
Yep, that's just where they are.
I think fans would be okay with that.
I agree.
I do. I think fans would be okay seeing the young, if you want to call them baby birds, going out there, and if they fall flat on their face, they're okay with that. They're going to say they're getting experience, and that's something we want to see instead of the product that's out there right now. 314 says, was at the game last night, seemed pretty apathetic to me. People were leaving in the seventh, even though the Cardinals were only down by 2. Very quiet in the stadium. Did you find that you were at the stadium over the weekend?
It was loud, but there were a lot of Dodger fans there.
So it was more of a Dodger crowd. Yeah.
It sounded like when Ohtani hit the home run, it sounded like we were in Dodger Stadium.
Did it really?
Yeah.
I wonder if a lot of Cardinal fans were invested into watching Ohtani too.
I think they were. Yeah. I think that's the case, which is fine. That's great. He deserves that. But Brooke has spent most of this year, whenever Sonny Gray would have a bad outing, saying, Randy, do you want to say I told you so? Randy, do you want to say I told you so? You've been waiting for that, haven't you?
I've been waiting for you, because I feel like you do deserve your flowers on that, which I know that it's not fun to see what has happened, but it is true. You did say earlier in this year that you worried about if he would be able to withstand, especially the latter part of the season, and here we are, and we've seen those struggles from Sonny, especially the amount of home runs that he's allowed this season is very alarming. He's talked about that himself. I think that was that what number is he at currently right now with home runs that he's given up?
17?
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken, something like that.
And the other day was like his 10th since the All-Star break. And so you've really seen those home runs really mount up for Sonny Gray. But I think you could say that a lot about the entire pitching staff in general. The bullpen was such a strength for this team early on in the season. And then you've started to see that wear and tear. You've heard Oli Mo say that these guys are running on fumes right now. There was a lot of concerns about if they would be able to withstand, especially towards the end of the season, and be able to sustain some of that success we saw early on.
Yeah. And I'm not going to say I told you so. I will let the numbers speak for themselves. Since the All-Star break, Gray has made 6 starts. He has an earned run average of 5.50. He is still striking guys out, 47 in 36 innings. But as Brooke, you mentioned, 10 home runs allowed in 36 innings since the All-Star break. That's not going to do it.
I think the frustrating thing, too, is he's not going deep into games.
Yes.
And that's what you anticipate with a frontline starter. 1 or 2, you'd like to say all 5 could do that, but he's not going deep into games for whatever reason. And that's an issue for me moving forward, for sure.
So the Cardinals are back at it today. They will pitch our guy, Big Game Gibby Jim, and he'll be opposed by Tobias Myers of the Brewers, who's 6-5 with a 2.81. They just keep making pitchers over there.
And the other thing is, barring yesterday when they gave up the home run to Carpenter, their bullpen is really good.
Really good.
Really good. And it ends now with Devin Williams, who we know can be dominating. But when you look at reasons as to why Milwaukee is where they're at, they've had some young players emerge. They have found stopgaps in the rotation. It's like 16 or 18 different starters that they've had. But that bullpen has been nasty, lights out this year, and that's why they win games.
And the Cardinals did lose last night 3-2 to the Brewers. Coming up, are the Cardinals in danger of breaking Jordan Walker? That's coming your way on 101 ESPN.
We're finally coming up on football season. It's just around the corner. Week 1, you can start getting ramped up right now with our friends at Underdog Fantasy. Over 1 million fans got in the game last year by making picks on Underdog. It's the one place you need for your daily fantasy plays. And again, you can start your NFL plays right now. They have Week 1 entries ready for you right now. In fact, they have promos right now. You just download Underdog Fantasy and you can start adding your promos to your entries right away. But if you're still in baseball season, maybe you want to make an entry for the Cardinals game today. I will make an entry for the Cardinals game today, and I'm kind of going to go negative. I don't really know any other way to go right now. So we're going to go Tobias Myers, higher than 4.5 strikeouts. We're going to take higher than 1.5 total bases for Jackson Churio and Willie Adames. Again, you have to get at least 2 teams in there, so we're going to get a Cardinal play in there, and we're going to go lower than 0.5 total bases for Nolan Gorman. Underdog Fantasy, it's always super easy to make picks and easier to get started. You can just go to their mobile app or to underdogfantasy.com. Sign up with the promo code ROCC, and Underdog is going to give you a highly discounted pick that you can add to your entry, and you can use on your first pick of entry, plus a first-time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code ROCC to claim your new customer offer of a Give Me First pick and your deposit offer. Must be 18 plus and present to state what Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Consider your play. Go on gambler. Visit www.ncbgambling.org. This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. After the big day for the Blues yesterday, getting 2 players from the Edmonton Oilers in those offer sheets deals. You can hear more Blues talks on our Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers today as we talked about the new players with head coach Drew Bannister. Also, more Cardinals talk as well on the Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers podcast as John Denton joined Randy, Danny, and Brooke to talk about the Cardinals and the Jordan Walker situation. Speaking of the Cardinals, they're back in action today after yesterday's 3-2 loss. 6:45 first pitch. It'll be Kyle Gibson on the mound for the Cardinals. That is your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
This is how you end up with a Dylan Carlson. You know, this is how you end up with a Tyler O'Neill. This is how you break the spirit of a player. This is how you shake the confidence of a player. Like Jordan Walker can hit righties. He can hit lefties. He's not a platoon player. None of it made sense. I mean, why didn't you bring him up 10 days earlier when you were facing Shota Imanaga and Justin Steele and a handful of other lefties? Instead, you brought him up when you were facing mainly righties. I don't like the handling of any of it.
John Denton with us earlier here on 101 ESPN. I'm trying to think, and you do have a tendency when you yo-yo a player like Jordan Walker has been yo-yoed. We always worry about a player being broken and breaking the spirit of a player. Danny, do you remember? I'm trying to think of a guy who I feel like was broken because of the way he was utilized in this manner.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, too. When he was saying breaking the spirit of a player, to use his words, I can't think of one. It's happened, and it's happened a bunch. I don't like how they've handled this either.
It's been bad.
It's kind of preposterous in the way that they've done this. You can't have this guy as a number 1 prospect in baseball going up and down. Now, you can come out and say that he's not ready, then he shouldn't be here. You know, he just hasn't played well, hasn't hit well at this level. But you got to find out. You know, I think you let him just go for a week. Righty, lefty, I don't care. Guy throws 98, guy that's soft talk, I don't care. you got to let him play.
Agreed.
You got to let him play and see what he's got.
That's what you have to do. And that's why I'm so confused about how the messages were mixed in this entire process, because you have John Mozeliak and what he has said here recently about the comments about with a young player, his belief is that they shouldn't be sitting on the bench. And then you have the way that Jordan Walker was utilized in this situation. Why do you guys think that the messages were mixed in that way, and why it wasn't a shared plan?
I think we have unvoiced philosophical differences, Brooke.
Not again.
I think that's what it looks like to me. Doesn't it look like that to you guys? The one person wants the guy to play every day. I can't imagine you bring him up and not say, I want him to play every day, and then he sat.
I thought of a player, by the way.
Oh.
Colton Wong.
Oh,
good call.
That is
very good call.
That is
Yeah.
really
Colton
good
Wong
call.
was going back and forth, and for whatever reason wasn't playing every day at that point in time. And I think most fans wanted to watch him play. Young, exciting player.
And his spirit, until Mike Schultz got here, was broken.
It absolutely just didn't work with Mike Matheny as the manager. Didn't seem to work, and that seemed to be the kind of guy that was broken.
Good call. Really good call.
Yeah. So going back to the question, what do you think exactly happened there?
It seems like there is, for some reason, a communication gap there. Go back, and I mentioned this earlier in the show, to the Contreras thing, how Oli said one thing on Saturday and then Mo said a different thing on Sunday. Go back to last year when they told Jordan Walker, we love the way you handle adversity, and this is why you made the team, and then he has adversity, and they send him down. It just seems like there are too many situations here where there appears to be a lack of communication for there to not be a lack of communication.
I think at some point, too, you got to just take the training wheels off and see what you got.
Well, and Dan, I always go back to Corbin Carroll, and he's having a magnificent second half for the Diamondbacks. Granted, he stayed up all year. Last year won the National League Rookie of the Year. He was terrible for a half a season. What did they do? They kept playing the guy until he bounced back because they knew he had the talent. Mariners are doing the exact same thing with Julio Rodriguez. He's not hitting particularly well, but rather than send him down and yo-yo him, they're letting him battle through it so that he can handle that adversity as his career unfolds. One thing that I think of here is how incredible, and it makes Albert Pujols seem all the more incredible.
100%.
Because he never had adversity.
And Yachty, to an extent. Now, Yachty's adversity couldn't hit when he first, but he became a really good hitter and a smart player and a smart hitter. So but they stuck with him and just said, hey, get behind the plate, call a great game, be the defensive player we know that you are. Dave Ricketts said he was the best defensive catcher he'd seen, and let him go.
Don't worry about getting a hit. I think Tony said publicly he doesn't even need to get a hit. Yeah. One other guy, by the way, when Mariano Rivera started out as the closer for the Yankees in 97, John Wetland was their closer in 96, and Mariano Rivera blew, I believe it was 3 of his first 6 saves. Joe Torre told me, brought him into my office, and I said, look, you're my guy. I don't have anybody else. You're going to be my closer. And Rivera ran off like 21 saves in a row after that. As a manager, you also have to provide confidence to the player and then back that confidence with action.
Let me just throw this out there. What if he would have played every day and plays every day till the end of the season and hits 150 like he did at the beginning of the year? How much of a confidence, how shot would his confidence be going into the offseason? Or is that something from an organizational standpoint you just say, that's the way it goes, and we needed to find out?
I think you need to get to a bunch of at-bats.
I do, too.
And then find out that, okay, I'm not going to expose him to this. That was a big Tony La Russa word. I'm not going to expose him so that something really awful, historically bad happens.
Yeah, and that's fair.
And he was just catching fire in the minors. And I even look at the situation with Nolan Gorman. Now, I know that they have started to limit his playing time. You have seen that, obviously, with some of the lineups. He's out some days. But at the same time, they're letting him stay and work through it just about every single day. So they're giving him the opportunity to do that. So I think with that situation with Jordan Walker, I just hope that they can get it right moving forward, because the handling of this situation, I don't know what else you can say about it other than it's not right. I worry about his development and also how it does affect his confidence, because that is a big key here. And he is an adult. He does have to work through adversity, but the mixed message portion of this from the organization, I could see how that would be very confusing as a young player of what exactly do you want me to do and execute here?
The other thing that we have to keep in mind is not only are they, with a guy like Gorman, his market value has dropped precipitously this year. year. You could have gotten a lot for Nolan Gorman last offseason. And now you get a guy that's got a 50% strikeout rate. Granted, he's still got a lot of left-handed pop, but the Cubs had Kyle Schwarber, and they decided to non-tender him after 3 years. I wonder if that's where the Cardinals are headed down the road with a guy like Gorman eventually.
Boy, that's an interesting point. The other thing, too, if you were looking for a spark of some sort by bringing up Jordan Walker, you only gave him 11 at-bats.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's
you got to find out if he can be a spark.
Hasn't been treated fairly, no doubt. Rock and Roll coming up next as we head down the stretch of this edition of the Opening Drive on 101 ESPN.
Munganess, St. Louis Acura, and Munganess Burkhardt Alton Toyota, presenting sponsor of Balloon Party on 101 ESPN, the place I go to get my cars. And right now, they have an incredible selection of new vehicles available for you. Check it out online at stlouisacura.com or go to altontoyota.com and work with the best. And the best is Munganess, St. Louis Acura, and Munganess Burkhardt Alton Toyota.
Hey, St. Louis, our friends at Together Credit Union just launched a brand new high-yield checking account called Empower Checking. With Empower Checking, you earn above-market value interest on the money you keep in your day-to-day checking account. Interest is paid to you each month. It's a checking account that rewards you for balances and not activity. To apply, all you need to do is visit togethercu.org or stop by one of their 14 area St. Louis branches and work directly with one of their amazing member advocates. Another thing about Empower Checking at Together Credit Union is you're going to get an ATM card. We'll get to the Together Credit Union City SC debit card, and with it, you get the opportunity to get express entry into City Park, and you get 10% discounts on everything that you purchase at City Park. So it's a pretty cool deal. The Empower Checking and the ATM card, the Together Credit Union debit card that features City SC. Get paid to save with Empower Checking. Visit togethercu.org/empower for full terms and details. Membership eligibility required. Together Credit Union, federally insured by the NCUA.
Your local trusted expert for foundation repair and waterproofing. Book your free inspection at foundationrecoverysystems.com.
and roll.
Let's rock. Let's rock today.
It is time for Rock and Roll. Matthew, what do we got?
We have almost no time, so I just want to throw something out really quickly. Here's a quote from a man running a baseball team. I can say this: me, our coaches, our staff, none of us is blameless. We've really struggled to play offense this year, and it's not just on our players for doing that. That would be a cop-out. That's Jerry DiPoto, who is running the Mariners. Obviously not the season they wanted up in Seattle, but man, compare that comment to some of the comments we've gotten from lack of offense and a team struggling here in St. Louis, and it sounds like it's a different timber, if you will, coming out of Seattle than what we're getting here in St. Louis.
Yeah.
Pretty point blank honest.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that's what I appreciate. I just kind of wish, and honestly, I think it's insane that you could take that entire sentence and I think just recraft it for the Cardinals, because I think that's the big thing we've been talking about the last 2 or 3 weeks and honestly for the last year, is just how much blame do you put on the coaches, how much blame do you put on the players, and I think that's an acceptable middle ground from a guy running a baseball team right there.
Yeah, well, go ahead, Brooke.
I was going to say, what do you think that Mozeliak could come out and say right now to the fans, addressing them? What do you think that he could say that would fire people back up? Maybe not on this season, but at least on the organization moving forward.
I think the first thing that he needs to do is own it. One of the things that I think Blues fans appreciate about Doug Armstrong is that he says, hey, this is on me. This is the team that I put together. And Mo has done that in the past, but I think he needs to fall on the sword. And then the other part of it is, if you believe you have good players, then you have to find a way to maximize their abilities.
I think he would fall on the sword in a heartbeat. Mm-hmm. He's done it in the past, and essentially he was honest the other day. If you read between the lines, he said, you know what, not that we're throwing in the rest of the season, throwing in the towel, but we are raising the white flag to an extent by playing some of the younger players that they want to get a look at down the stretch. That would tell me that they think, to an extent, they're out of it. And that's just being honest.
I agree. The only problem there is he said it right after sending down Jordan Walker.
Yeah, the timing was curious.
The timing of it, yeah. The timing of that, I think, is what really bothers people right there. And then you compare that to Doug Armstrong. We were talking about his quotes. Obviously, two very different sports, but Doug Armstrong, I think that he won over a lot more fans yesterday with those comments that he made, and he backed it up with his actions. So we talked, and that's what we have talked about, is that it shouldn't just be words either. I don't think you can just go out and put out a flowery statement of trying to win people back over. I think the actions portion of it is just as important.
Once you say you would do something to your mother to help your team win for the fans, I think that trumps everything.
It does.
You get some fan support saying that.
No doubt about it. Yep. We have a balloon party coming up with T-Mac and Ajax, followed by BK and Ferrario, and then the Fast Lane coming your way from 2 to 6 this afternoon. Should be a fun day of programming here on 101 ESPN if you like to talk about negativity and whining.
Yay!
We just did it for 3 hours and had a great time doing it. Didn't we? Matthew, great job as always. That's our producer, audio, video engineer, the one, the only Matthew Rocchio.
All negative show pleasure.
Brooke, did you have fun being negative today?
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Good deal. Danny, you're the best.
You're the best, buddy.
That's Danny Mac, and we thank you for tuning in, texting in, and being a part of the program. For all of us, until tomorrow morning at 7, have a great hump day, St. Louis.
It's time for a DraftKings at Casino Queen Redbird report on 101 ESPN.
Brooke Grimsley here for your Redbird Report. The Cardinals left the bases loaded in the 9th inning and lost to the Brewers 3-2 last night to open the series. Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Gorman struck out to end the game. The Cardinals logged their only runs of the night in the 8th inning on a pitch hit 2-run homer by Matt Carpenter. Eric Fetty allowed 2 runs on 6 hits and 4 walks in 5 2/3, and he struck out 2. The Cardinals have now lost 7 of their past 8 games. They fell to 12 games behind the Brewers with the loss. Tonight, Kyle Gibson will get the start for the Cardinals. First pitch is at 6:45.
The Redbird Report is presented by DraftKings at Casino Queen. Play, stay, dine at DraftKings at Casino Queen.